9 o'clock. We're ready to start. Let's call this meeting to order and please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the
of
United
the United
States
States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and
justice
justice for all.
all. Thank you. And Amy is going to read the oath of office to Dr. Selberg and Julie.
I believe Dr. Klippenstein was going to do it for you, Dr.
Oh, Dr. Kayas. Okay, sorry.
Yes, I would be happy. It's my pleasure to do the oath of office today. First, I want to congratulate Dr. Selberg and Dr. Bear for your continued service as a member of our Board of Governors for the Mohave County Community College District. Greatly appreciate you serving both your constituents within your districts as well as all of Mohave County and Mohave Community College. It's a pleasure to continue to work with you. And again, congratulations. I'm sure everybody on this line would applaud and everything else, do this. If we were all together, we would. But again, thank you. So first, pursuant to ARS 38-231, before any officer enters upon the duties of the office, the officer shall take and subscribe the following oath or affirmation. So if you don't mind, please repeat after me. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. There you go. Thank you. State of Arizona, County of Mohave.
State of Arizona, County of Mohave.
I state your name.
I, Julie Bear,
I, Judy Selberg,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
to the same and defend them
to
to the same and defend them
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will
and
faithfully
and impartially discharge the duties of the office
the duty, I will, and
discharge.
discharge the duties of the office
I'm
Uh,
reading these lips.
of district representative to the Mohave Community College District Governing Board,
of district
Representative
representative
to the Mohave
to
County
College District Governing Board,
College District Member.
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor. I'm very pleased to serve again.
That collective pronoun is very appropriate. Thank you. We. Thanks, Judy. It's a pleasure. All right, Miss Curley, roll call.
Julie Bear,
Here.
Susan McAlpine,
Here.
Vance Miller,
Here.
Ashley Pascal,
Here.
Judy Selberg.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Election of officers. In January, the MCCC DGB elects members of the board to the offices of president and secretary for the calendar year. It is customary to nominate one or more candidates. Nominations need not be seconded. A vote will be taken on each nominee in the order in which he or she was nominated until one is elected. The officer-elect assumes the responsibilities of his or her office immediately. First name up is nominations for the 2021 president of the board.
I would like to have the honor of nominating Dr. Julie Bear as president of the board.
Thank you, Judy. Are there any other nominations for president of the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, nominations for 2021. Thank you both, all of you very much. Nominations for 2021 Secretary of the Board.
I would like to make the nomination of Judy Selberg as to be the Secretary of the Board for 2021.
Dr. Judy Selberg, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Dr. Judy Selberg, Secretary of the Board 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Meeting minutes, Appendix 1. We have the draft meeting minutes from November 13. Anybody
I'd like
had
to
a,
make a motion,
please?
I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
make a motion to approve the draft minutes from the November 13th, 2020 regular meeting as they appear in Appendix 1.
Second.
Second?
Seconded by Ms. McAlpine. Any comments or discussion? All those in favor of adopting the minutes from November 13, aye, please.
Aye.
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 Opposed? 5-0. Audience of any citizen. Dr. Selberg, would you read that, please?
Yes. This is an opportunity for any citizen to address the board on any matter of concern to the citizen. The board will listen to the remarks but may not respond or answer questions. Unless a matter is already on the agenda for action, no action can be taken other than to instruct staff to include the matter on a future agenda. The president of the board may limit the time for individual presentation and may limit the total time for all presentations. Citizens wishing to comment will be limited to one opportunity to speak. If a citizens group wishes to speak on the same subject, the group should choose a representative to deliver that message. The chairperson may set a limit for organized group presentations and may set limits for each side when many persons request to speak on an agenda item. During remote video conferencing meeting, the chair will query attendees present by computer or telephone for those who wish to speak. The chair will also read into the record any public comments submitted via email or voicemail message by the deadline stated in the public notice.
Thank you so much. Ms. Curley will help me monitor those hand raises. First of all, we'll go ahead and ask North Mohave, is there anyone up there who wishes to speak? Seeing or hearing none. Kingman? Bullhead City? Lake Havasu City? Amy, did you see any hands in general at that time?
I have not seen any hand raising in the attendees.
Okay. Did you receive anything by email or voicemail?
I did not receive anything by email or voicemail.
All right, thank you so much. And neither did I. So we will close audience of any citizen. Faculty Council report. Tanya Jackson, please.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Faculty Council has not met yet. We actually haven't returned to campus. Our next meeting will be February 26th at 10:30 in the morning, of course, via Zoom. I do have some nice positive things to report though, which is great. We had data day. I know a lot of you were there. Faculty really loved it. We had a lot of great feedback, and it was another opportunity to build on what we had talked about last time, where we're learning more about our students through this COVID-19 pandemic. Well, now we got a lot of really great numbers to help, I think, some people recognize just how much our students are struggling, which can help us to support them and kind of build that understanding in the hurdles that they have, which makes us obviously more compassionate educators, but then we can kind of change what we're asking them to do or offer them better support. So that was really great. We have Meta coming up, which is an opportunity for professional development. We're going to have multiple breakout sessions where we look at what works in COVID style instruction and online instruction. It'll all be kind of workshop based or discussion based. It'll be a really nice opportunity for participation. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm just excited for spring. The students are coming, and that's really that's all we have because we haven't met yet. So we did move, I should say, I apologize. We did move forward with the non-participation and Z grade language. So we are going to have clear language for our students so they better understand expectations and when they might be dropped and why they need to be actively participating in courses. And we'll be looking at load hours, a credit issue. It's something that I've had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Klippenstein, and our newbie, Dr. Culver, got to join our conversation. So we're going to be looking at how we're compensating faculty for the work that they're doing. So it'll be a very productive semester. We just haven't officially started yet. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tanya. It sounds like without a meeting, you keep busy enough. What will happen when you insert a meeting in that?
I have no idea.
Double busy. Well, thanks for the robust report.
You're welcome.
Staff Council report, Amber Johnson. Hi, Amber.
Good morning, Dr. Bear and members of the board and Dr. Klippenstein.
There she is.
The staff council met yesterday, actually, and we had a nice meeting. A big chunk of it was taken up getting feedback on the pandemic response. We have a lot of positive feedback from staff members working remotely, from the cuts down on distractions, and they feel that sometimes they're more productive at home when they don't have distractions and a lot of conversations with coworkers. We also got good feedback that teams where members of the team are on different campuses actually feel a better team connection, because instead of just talking within their campus team, they talk as an entire team more often via Zoom, and they feel they're actually stronger teams and have better connections. And so there was a lot of positive feedback. We did note the issue that internet has become an issue, not only for students, but for staff members, especially those that their job deals working with students. So student services, advising the library, that when they're working a lot with students, staff members are having their own internet issues, and there's only so much that can be done, but that is a obstacle and a hurdle that they're coming into with working remotely. As well as the North Campus has, being a very small community, the campus building is a big resource for the community, especially for technology. And so when everything is remote and the campus is closed, not only are they struggling a little bit more, but students don't have the getting financial aid documents in and scanning where they would go to campus. Some basic technology that we take for granted is not as available. And the campus is a big source for that. And when the campuses are closed, the students, it's an extra hurdle for them up there north, and staff members trying to help those students. So those came up, and that was our big discussion, and we thank you, and we're looking forward to our next meeting in March.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank
How
you.
are they overcoming that hurdle then, for instance, were there resolutions offered or?
So at the North, they are working with the students via Zoom on the phone, and it's a lot of back and forth. I mean, they're trying to take pictures of the documents, try to get the right documents and upload, whereas before the students would just bring it in and they would help them there with the computer, get it printed or scanned in and send that off to financial aid. And so they're saying it's taking a lot of meetings with the students and one-on-one and trying to find solutions there.
All right. Well, we
And Madam
appreciate
Chair,
your-
Madam Chair, if
ahead,
I
please.
may, I also want to, first of
There,
all,
I can see it.
to thank Tanya and Amber as well for their continued leadership. One of the things too I want to share with that discussion on the pandemic response with the staff council. Another issue was voiced in regards to, especially in the North Campus, where the feeling from local constituents or taxpayers is that we continue to be in a closed environment pretty much for this whole year, but going into spring term, and questions regarding how their taxpaying funds are truly being used if we continue to be in a closed format. So, and that kind of then coincided with, okay, then services and so forth. I just wanted to let you know that. I feel like I'd be remiss if I did not share that bit of information that was shared during staff council. So in case you hear from your constituents, that was shared again up at the North Campus.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Klippenstein, for adding that.
I'm going to try something right there. Now, I just put my hand up. So I'm guessing that if any of you want to speak, just like Stacy now was ready to speak and I didn't realize it. Because I'm only seeing one person at a time. Like right now I see Amber, which is fine. But if somebody wants to speak, would you make sure you use your hand? I know you have a lot of experience with this. But that way I can scan that column. And if you want to speak, I know it right away and I wouldn't interrupt you. So please don't hesitate, any of you, to raise your hand and then
I don't,
Okay, go ahead, please.
Madam Chair, I don't know where this hand is that you're referring to.
It's down at the bottom of my screen. I don't know what screen. Are you on a computer or?
Yep. Nope, I'm on a
Okay.
computer.
So if
I
you
have
want to speak, for instance,
participants,
or,
I have chat.
so hit your, yeah, but don't hit chat, hit that raise hand and let me see what happens.
I don't have one.
Oh,
I do not have one. So I'll
have-
raise my hand.
okay,
I
that'd be
do
good, but I don't know, I see you, so I just
Yeah, I
don't want to be rude and talk over someone. I'm sorry when I do, but it's just inevitable.
I don't have a hand either. I
Okay.
wonder,
At the bottom
well,
of your,
let me exit the full screen and see if it's down there.
yeah, I don't have full screen on.
No, I have chat, record, closed options. but
And I
don't
just
have-
have a regular home computer. I don't have I didn't buy a program or have something special. Do you see the participants chat
Yes.
and chat? Okay, mine says then share screen, record, raise hand.
I see share
If
screen.
do you
Please.
have the more all the way to the right? Do you see that? At the top, more?
Nope. Nope.
Because if you hit more, there is a
A
raise
hand.
hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Vance, you do have the hand then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make it work. We'll make it. work.
Yeah, absolutely. I just feel badly like when Vance was speaking. Ashley, I see your hand. Super. This worked for Ashley. All right, Ashley, what would you like to say?
I was just going to offer a suggestion of
Please.
how you might be able to find the raise hand feature. If you're able to click on the participants list and find your own name, and you go over your name and click the more, like Mr. Miller was just saying, then it should give you the options down below to raise your hand.
Yep, there it is.
Oh,
Good job,
perfect.
Ashley. That's why we need young people. Okay, it's right there.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. So
Yeah,
I'll
thank you.
monitor that list and look for raised hands from anyone. Thank you again. I appreciate your patience with us. All right, board report, AACCT and ACCT updates. Susan, you don't even have to raise your hand. We're going to call on you.
No, because I still don't have the hand feature, but that's okay. Anyhow, January 4th was apparently quite a big day for AACCT because I received 1, 2, 3 communications from them after almost a year of no communication at all. So
Look
anyhow,
up.
the first thing, and I think the most important thing for us, is that the new executive committee is requesting that we formally appoint a 2020 representative to the ACT board. They have unanimously agreed on the need to professionalize AACCT, invest resources into the organization, and hire a director to help them focus efforts and support our collective effectiveness. The executive committee over the last year has been at work developing a plan and strategic partnership with AC4 and posting a job conducting interviews in trying to fill their director position. So they're asking that we elect or appoint a board member who is a senior member and preferably somebody who is currently serving as your chair or vice chair or who has previously served in these roles. Last year, Ashley and I kind of chaired and alternate chaired what little we were able to participate in. So that's number one issue we can discuss. And then we received a email saying that they're offering a variety of board education opportunities for trustees to effectively carry out responsibilities. And it looks like they're talking about a board retreat, reflection issues, a CEO evaluation, and some planning workshops. And there's a number to call if you want to get more information. And then I received, it only printed on my computer, half of the email that says registration is now open for the 2021 Virtual Legislative Summit, which will be February 10th this year. And we have a link to go to that. And I believe I sent all of these off to Amy so she could distribute it to the entire board and the president. But I don't know that I did. My memory is getting really short these days when it comes to email and Zoom. So that's all I have from AACCT.
Thank you, Susan. The thing that we're going to need to address, the five of us right now, is having our representative. And I respect their desire that it be someone with experience, but all five of us have experience, be it with their specific organization or just as board members. If we were first-year board members, any of us, I can see where we wouldn't throw someone into that pot, though we've done it in the past.
You have.
As soon as somebody new came on board, they were stuck with the position. But out of respect for that and the respect that you all have the experience now, I would ask before we enter nominations, if you, Susan, and or you, Susan and Ashley, or both of you, one of you are interested in serving on this more dynamic, robust organization for the 2021 year. So we aren't railroading you.
Well, I, as you know, was pretty frustrated last year, and I'm sure Ashley was too. But I think in this new era of Zoom that I think I would be happy to continue if Ashley is happy to continue as an alternate. Using the Zoom format, attending meetings that way, and kind of doing what we did the first year President Klippenstein was with us, where I didn't travel to Phoenix, but participated by phone, and now hopefully we can participate by way of Zoom, and then utilizing those travel funds so that if we do organize a statewide conference again, that our other board members would be able to participate in that using those funds. So if that's okay with everybody and that's okay with Ashley, I'm okay.
Okay. So Ashley, you've heard what Susan has had to say. I'm looking for your hand or your voice.
Yeah, I'm happy to serve as the alternate, and I'm happy that Susan is agreeing to serve as the main representative.
Okay. All right. So we're looking for a nomination for the representative. Vance, I'll ask you to nominate someone.
I would be happy to try to do that. My understanding, we want to nominate Susan McAlpine as the primary representative and Ashley Pascal as the secondary, as the backup.
Excellent.
Second.
For a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Say
Aye.
thank you. Aye.
Hi.
Okay.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, and as Judy just said, I definitely, all five of us, so for whoever didn't do it, we do appreciate it, not just because we joke about it being difficult to find someone, but because it does sound like there's a real focus on improvement. And I think that Susan spoke very well about that. And it makes sense. So super. Thank you very much, both of you.
You're
And
welcome.
forward to monthly reports or quarterly or whenever they come in. All right, the board evaluation 2021 is in Appendix 2. And that came earlier in the week. And if you've had a chance to look over it, we can discuss it. It is, Amy, is it posted now then? Miss Amy?
I will post it after this meeting.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure before I said that. Okay, so the board evaluation is in Appendix 2, and thus far, no one else has seen it. But it will be public and it will be posted after we've had a chance to look at it today. So were there any particular comments, discussions, concerns you wanted to share as a group here? Looking for hands or voices? Susan, let's start with you. Did you have anything particular you'd like to comment on about the evaluation?
I think I need to find it again. I
Okay,
think there was a line with regard to, let me see if I can find it again, and
Sure.
then I'll
things about page
raise
15,
my hand.
16, something like that. Actually, I think it starts on page 19 of your whole packet there. At least it does on PDF.
Madam Chair, I thought that at the very end, there is a summary of, I think, what the areas that received the highest and lowest scores altogether.
Uh-huh.
And so under the areas of improvement, oh, thank you. I think Amy's doing that.
Yes, she did.
Areas of improvement, there are 3 areas, as you can see, and I just wondered if we wanted to have any discussion on how we might focus on those areas this year.
Sure. And I thought they were, personally, when I looked at them, I thought, well, yeah, that makes sense, at least, from my perspective. And of course, let's all remember, we each put our own rating down, but it looks like there must have been a good consensus at those 3 things. Any particular comments you'd like to lead with, Ashley?
Well, I was most interested in the last one at the bottom about appropriate relations with constituent groups.
Okay.
I know the last almost year, our world has changed so much that how we connect and keep relationships with community groups, statewide groups is different, or at least our method of connecting has to be different. And so I'm not surprised to see this here. We haven't been able to interact face to face with many groups for quite some time. And maybe we need to rethink how we can do that in the future.
Okay.
That's really all I had right now.
I appreciate
Just wanted to kick it off.
I
Okay.
know you probably felt like I put you on the spot, but I figured we're all tough. We can do it. I agree with you. I liked seeing the differentiation between those and the strengths. I was really tickled to see that we all respect each other, because it sure feels like we do. And I love that. I know we all do. And the no legal authority outside board meetings. Definitely is a point of honor when you look at what North Central expects and what the public should expect, even though they don't always. Some of them think we should be divulging everything that and running the show, but I haven't run into that in our community. They understand it's hands off. So I thought that was real helpful. And the time that we dedicate, we evidently all were in agreement that we personally are dedicating an appropriate amount of time. And that's
I think too that we got off to a good start this the last sessions with our workshop. And I think if we continue, Julie, that was an excellent workshop that you and Stacy prepared. And I think we just need to continue those workshops, and then we need to tell you what we think we need to emphasize, and we can just move forward. But I thought it was a big improvement over what we had previously.
super. That would, and I think, like Ashley pointed out, our mode of delivery is different now, but as long as we have ample time leading into our calendars, it's something we can do. So Stacy, let that be right there on the top of our list, and we certainly would want something like that probably no later than March, I'm thinking, to kind of pull us together for spring semester and far before the end of the semester. So
the other thing that those workshops help do is they legally permit us to collaborate and to talk with one another. And so that's also what makes them very valuable.
good. Perfect.
Madam Chair, I found what
Yes,
I
okay.
wanted to discuss. And obviously, it's the last point under trusteeship that we actively support the MCC Foundation and its
Okay.
efforts.
Uh-huh.
And I think that at least my tenure, both on the foundation and on the board, is that we've had very little interaction with the MCC Foundation and its efforts. And I'm coming to understand that there are some legal parameters about our active support of the foundation. And I was hoping you could explain them again to me and maybe to those who are listening in so that we're all on the same
Sure,
ground.
sure. You mean in general, what I had discussed recently? Uh-huh.
Yes,
And
please.
Stacy, if you feel that there's anything that I'm missing or didn't clarify, please jump in. I'll start with letting you know that during our last North Central evaluation, the North Central team met with each of the trustees and met with us collectively. And at that time reviewed with us the logic of not having any bleeding or commingling of leadership resources between the governing board of the institution and the leadership of the foundation. And while we were not discouraged from donating funds or participating in activities and attending, we were definitely discouraged from stepping into the boundaries of active membership, participation, committee leadership of the foundation. And that reached back, I want to say, for the last two North Centrals, because I remember some of the governing board members who were involved in the first go around and several, or one in the second one. And so I would encourage all of us to remember that and respect and honor what the foundation does, but also realize we are not the voice or the promoters or the attendees in their monthly meetings as board members. And I think it's been more difficult this year because there's no, there hasn't been an opportunity to have activities that we would buy tickets and go to, you know. Is that what you were asking, Susan? Does that clarify it?
Yes, it does. And I think probably it would be appropriate now, knowing that, next time we do an evaluation, that 6.0 trustees actively support the MCC Foundation and its efforts just be removed. Then we don't feel guilty when we're filling it out saying, we haven't done anything to help them this week. So that would just be my only suggestion. Thank you for explaining that, because nobody has ever really addressed it, I don't think, with any of us, at least me in 2 years. So thank you.
You're more than welcome.
No, Julie, we could maybe revise that question to word it so that we can answer it honestly, that we understand our roles and responsibilities and participate appropriately. That might help. Yeah. And then we can give it
I love
a
the word revise, and I love the verb that you use, because we've talked at length about the need to revise some of our documents. And I would suggest that this one would definitely be a document that we certainly are open to revision. So as we look at these, this evaluation and also our president's evaluation, we've talked about looking at that. And though we can't do anything official today, I would ask each of you to consider your role in how you can participate in the process of revising these two documents, be it as we do it separately and then collaborate later, or if you want to form a committee. And by February, notify Amy, and I'll put together a little questionnaire and have her distribute it to you. And by February, we'll have a clear understanding of how you'd like to go about that process. All
Would
right.
it be appropriate to include it in a workshop of some kind?
I think summarily it would, but initially we'd want to at least get the groundwork done. Is what I'm
Okay. Yep.
But absolutely, Judy, you're right. So that's why I say I'll put together something for Amy, and the rest of you, please be looking for that probably a week from now. And then
Perfect.
that'll give you 3 weeks before we meet
Yeah.
again.
Okay.
And it can pull in Ashley's concerns or suggestions as well as everything. And then that would be headed to March. Anybody in opposition to that or have a different idea? Any other suggestions on how we can handle that? All right, thank you all. Okay, now we have Susan. Oh, yes, Stacy, were you,
I was just going to say, Madam Chair, thank you very much.
did you
for,
raise your hand, Stacy?
Yes, I did.
You're too, you're not
It
showing
doesn't
up.
really wave though. It just pops up. So it needs to wave.
Oh, there it is, yeah, thank you.
Thank you all very much. And thanks for to Susan and her comment, and also, as well as Judy. That was going to be my recommendation, is I think there's a different way to word that specific one to address probably what the intent is. The one thing I did want to just share is that the work of the foundation itself, so the presiding president with Karen Moscato, as well as the work of our advancement office with Sean, Lynn, and Mandy, continue to work on improving both the board itself and also long-range plans, and better understand the fiscal situation where the foundation is and where they will be going in the future in support of MCC's mission and vision. And I know each chapter is continuing to work and think maybe slightly differently than maybe they did before. But what that means is, as I've talked with both Dr. Bear and Susan about in the past, has been that we have an opportunity coming up with the foundation to take a look at campaigns a little bit differently. And what I've seen in the past is where if a foundation board is moving on approaching a larger scale campaign, something that's there to focus on supporting the community college's mission, that sometimes there's a good cross collaboration and discussion with the board itself, the trustee board. And I think those types of discussions are very appropriate to have, but as long as the governance, there's a separation of the governance on both, that's all we're looking for. And I appreciate the real, what I would consider very conservative and really good, strict nature on making sure that those things are separated. So thank you for that.
Sure, thank you. All right, moving on, we're on item C. Policy 6.017, and we
Yeah.
have that in Appendix 3, and we'll let Dr. K take the lead on that.
You bet. Thank you again very much for this. Yeah, we are seeking your approval. We are at second reading for policy 6.017, which is alcohol and college property. You have the procedure, or excuse me, sorry, policy there in front of you. Over the last, well, it's been 3 months or more. As you know, the P&P committee, along with Amy Curley, myself, the deans of student and community engagement, the leadership team have reviewed both the policy as well as the multiple procedures. We have updated based on your feedback during and after the first reading to separate out those procedures into 5 distinct areas, both covering the educational and off-campus non-credit, also third-party and also internal type use of the alcohol policy on our college campuses or leased property as well. Our whole goal over this review of our procedures was to mitigate risk as much as possible and have a conservative approach. As you will notice that we are right now in our procedures requesting that really we're limiting the amount of alcohol and the type of alcohol. So we're keeping it conservative in that approach. And it does require presidential approval. So really nothing can happen unless it runs through me and my office for approval. Its focus really was at the beginning was on the educational opportunities it would offer to our culinary arts, as well as to some of our requests that are coming in for community ed type courses, such as brewing class, vineyard, those type of things. We are still in the midst of finalizing the form that will be used when there is a request. We had some really good feedback and questions during the one-on-ones with you. Amy has taken those. She is going to revisit the form and clean that up. So again, we have the policy we're asking for you to approve today. We're still working on cleaning up a few of the procedure things, but we're really close. And then we're finalizing the form that will be used as well. So I know that some of you had some good questions for me, and I know that Amy and I have visited. I know Amy has gone in to make some corrections on some certain language and looked at some items. We will continue to review those procedures as certain requests come forward. As you know, it's very difficult to identify every single scenario that may come forward with an alcohol request. But we've done, I think, very well to at least capture most of it, but we can adjust and adapt those procedures at a later point. If we feel like we're getting numerous requests, or Chef Elena with the culinary arts is saying this is what they want to do. Instead of 6 ounces of wine, they might need a 9-ounce variance because of 3 different pairings they want to do for certain food. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways we can correct that and monitor that. But we did want to start with a conservative approach, one that really does review and mitigate risk. And the approval process is very, very clear that it runs through my office. So there I will stop and see if there's any questions. And again, we are seeking your approval of the policy that's in front of you.
Okay, before we go to questions, why don't we go ahead and have a motion, and then we can clarify any questions. And again, as Stacy said, we've had good chance to discuss it. Is there a motion for this policy?
Motion to approve a policy governing alcohol on college property as it appears above.
Thank you, Susan.
I'll second.
I think Ashley did. Sorry, Vance. I have the advantage of seeing the screen. She went on video and you didn't, so she gets to second it. And Vance chimed in too. So now, is there any discussion, or are there any further questions? Or I know you've each had a chance to talk about this with Stacy, and we've had 2 months to review it. And clarified today anything maybe that you had out there. Any questions, Judy? I'm not waiting for hands. Any questions?
Okay. No, I have faith that we will judiciously monitor this new approach, and that we will get it right. I think it's a good modern attraction for classes and doing what we need to do, which is bring our community into the community college. So I'm looking forward to seeing it be successful in a legal way.
Vance, any questions? Ashley?
No, ma'am.
Oh, no, ma'am. I'm sorry. I was just going to move right on. Ashley?
I just wanted to comment that I appreciate the additional work that went into this, and the information gathering to put together. I think it looks like a pretty solid policy that we can get behind and stay behind. And I guess I think it was clear in the materials I read that for all communities, there would be, let me rephrase this.
Sure.
I was happy to see that there was some local decision-making involved, so that how this might happen in all of our communities will be appropriate to that community. And then, of course, with the final approval going through the president's office.
Super. Super feedback. Susan?
I first of all wanted to say thank you to everybody who participated in this, and to President Klippenstein for involving so many people in that decision. And I also think that, it's really appropriate as we start to see Mohave County incorporate wineries. We have wine growers now, we have a distillery, we have brewers that are all part of our local community. So thank you very much to President Klippenstein and everybody who worked on it, including Amy, who never has her picture up, but is really the moving force behind all of these. So thank you all very much.
Well, I will offer one clarification. I don't know that Amy's the moving force behind all these, but she certainly is the moving force behind distribution and collection and pulling things together for us. And
I'll reword that to say the moving fingers behind that.
Thank you. We don't all love her, but we want to make sure.
There's another additional strength to Amy, in that she really silently researches things and helps us make those decisions. So, her brain is actively engaged in the community college atmosphere. Yeah, yeah. So thank you, Amy, wherever you are out there. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, so ready for the question. All those in favor of the motion? Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Klippenstein, for your hard work and pulling all of this together. And as everyone has said, the people that you pulled together and made sure everybody was involved. That's very helpful.
Thank you.
Good. All right, let's go ahead and go to other reports. 2021 Board President, I have no other reports other than, once again, thank you. Before we get into the Mohave Minute, I guess I do have a report. I've really appreciated, even through the holidays and the recess that we've had, et cetera, the continued publicity that we've had in our local news media for different programs. One being Chef Alana's Culinary Arts. There was several great articles going around about that. And also recognition of Lori Howell and the substance abuse program, the ways that it has been recognized, which is going to be, I'm sure, in the Mohave Minute. But certainly that was promoted and we got a lot of good feedback from that. So, and other things as well, but those two stand in my mind for seeing them on multiple media sources. So thanks to everyone that's been involved in that. James Jarman is my assumption that he's led that initiative, but certainly Lori Howell and Chef Alana for putting together those events. So, and success rate. So we're going to go ahead and let Stacy, or any other board reports? I'm sorry,
Yes.
does anybody else?
I wanted to just jump into what you were saying, and also congratulations to the physical therapy assistant program who had a 100% pass rate.
Yes.
So congratulations.
I'm not sure, maybe I saw that quite some time ago. Would that be, is that? a while back? My mind, it's gone right
Who
through.
knows? In COVID time, who knows anything anymore when we
Right,
see
right.
stuff.
Who knows what's real and what's online? Yeah, but but the important thing is, I think that, all these communications to our public is keeping us alive in their hearts and their minds.
Right.
And that is really important because we will be coming back and we want those 17% that we've lost back into our community. So,
You're right.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
And all of these communications that I've seen have been really nicely done
Yep,
and
very
represent the
professional,
college
very nice.
very well. So thank you.
Thank you all. All right, Dr. Klippenstein, take it away. It's your chance.
Yes, thank you all very, very much. And I do want to echo what you just said. And we're about ready to go into Mohave Minute, which will provide some really, really good updates on some of the items you talked about and many others as well. First, I just want to say to the comment that Dr. Selberg had, that even during this time when we haven't really had many people on campus, in actuality, over the last so many months, we've had thousands of people come into our campus for the COVID testing site. That has been extremely busy, and our affiliation with Embry Women's Health has been pretty strong and has been very worthy because it's providing visibility of each of our college campuses as being hopefully some sort of assistance during this crisis. So what I want to do is also just say thanks for the policy approval. I didn't get an opportunity to also say thanks to the work that Amy did do and also to our deans for that review and how our procedures now need to kind of fit together. But Amy did do quite a bit of work on that area, so thank you. Also want to congratulate Dr. Baer and Dr. Selberg for your continued leadership on the board. I'm really excited for that. And also say thanks to Susan and Ashley for your continuation of working with the AACCT. I know that there'll be plenty of opportunity for me to provide you updates as well from the AC4 meetings, and I'm sure we'll all be together at different points with some common discussion about how AACCT and the AC4 group can work together on community college issues across the state. So thanks for your leadership there. I will pass it over right now to begin the President's report to our Mohave Minute video recap by James Jarman.
Thank you.
First up, the College Substance Abuse Counseling School is one of the best in the country. It's one of just 29 to receive the National Addiction Studies Accreditation Commission stamp of approval. MCC's program is competency-based, which requires students to get at least an 80% to pass a class.
So that's why employers tend to like competency-based education. They know you come out of there being competent in every single content area. So that's one of the wonders of it.
And students can finish faster because as soon as they know the skills in the content area, they can move to the next class instead of waiting for everyone else. Head on over to mohave.edu/substance for more information. The College Physical Therapist Assistant School is also among the best in the country as it racked up another perfect year with 100% of the recent graduates passing the national board exam on their first attempt. The college program ranks among the best in the nation according to the Federation of State Boards of Physical Therapy. This is the 5th year in a row that a graduating class scored perfect first-time pass rates on the boards. Culinary students brought the heat as they prepared Thanksgiving meals to kick off the holiday season. The meals were prepared for people to pick up at the Bullhead City campus.
We were able to get out there and advertise a little bit and help some families prepare their Thanksgiving meals. We've got prime rib, rack of lamb, we've got turkey, we've got chickens, and it's great to be able to give back to the community.
Be sure to head over to mohave.edu/culinary to learn more about enrolling in the college culinary program. Now to student success story Nicole Ownby. The MCC paralegal student was part of a national video encouraging Native American women to vote. The opportunity came while she was researching an assignment for a class at MCC where she enrolled after her father, who was dying of cancer, asked her to get her college degree.
And he kind of said, I would really like to see you develop your personal skill, and I do so much for you. I'd be glad to help you get through school. I'd really like to see you do that. So it took me until now, but I decided to go ahead and pursue that. I'd like to further, after I do my do my associate's degree, go on to a full law degree.
She says it turns out the cost of her college education was already covered, which she found out after she filled out the free application for federal student aid. You can read much more about her path to fulfilling her father's dying wish over at the college newsroom. Just head over to mohave.edu/mohavewire. For the 4th year in a row, the College Bursar's Office received the Achieve Campus Efficiency, or ACE Award. Out of nearly 1,000 institutions, MCC is one of just over 100 to receive this award from Bank Mobile for the college's excellent process of dispersing funds to students. And the entire budget office once again received the Government Finance Officers Association Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Michelle Levine with the GFAO said the Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government agency and its management. Congratulations to the Bullhead City PTK Honor Society inductees. The group invited the Mohave Wire to their fall virtual ceremony where 27 students were inducted.
These students have fulfilled all requirements for membership and have been selected because they have chosen scholarship, leadership, service, and fellowship as their hallmarks.
The ceremony is usually held on campus, but because of the pandemic surge, it was held virtually. And speaking of the pandemic, with the recent record spike in cases throughout Mohave County, the college will continue with its popular remote, online, and limited on-campus labs for spring semester. The college president emailed students and sent them a video message explaining the situation.
For those students who are new to us, what that will mean is that certain courses that may have been on ground before will now be done in a remote or an online setting. There will be certain labs, such as career and technical labs, or health profession labs, or science labs that may be offered on-site following certain MCC guidelines and procedures.
Spring semester begins January 19th and 12-week classes start February 8th. Head over to mohave.edu/coronavirus for updates on the college pandemic plan and upcoming virtual events. Students and employees aren't letting the pandemic keep them from holding fun and informational events, including
Every year, Santa bakes dozens of his family's favorite cookie to give to everyone as a gift.
It's Winter Wonder Zoom. MCC teamed up with the Real Toads Poetry Society to host a night of reading and sharing holiday stories and songs, and it included a session just for kids. The Poetry Society is a community organization dedicated to promoting literary arts in Mohave County. There was also holiday trivia hosted by the Bullhead City campus.
Doing round two. We're going to see what you know.
Students and employees competed in different categories like songs, movies, and traditions, and the top winners in each category received a prize. The libraries from each campus hosted International Games Week. Everyone had the choice of playing different games such as online board games, video games, and a scavenger hunt, which included finding 30 pennies. The libraries also hosted National Novel Writing Month. People who took part were challenged to try to write 50,000 words for a novel in 30 days.
It's entertaining to write 50,000 words in a month.
The Havasu campus held its 3 days of holiday virtual events, which also included several virtual scavenger hunts.
Okay, the next one is a candy cane of any color.
Other events included Ugly Sweater Day and Show Us Your Christmas Tree.
Oh, hi, boys and girls.
Kids in Kingman had fun helping Fred the Elf get back to the North Pole. The Kingman campus teamed up with AZ Claus Cause for this one. Kids who helped Fred by emailing Santa and Mrs. Claus received a special message thanking them for their help.
I'm back.
Fred, you made it!
Special thanks to the Kingman Minor newspaper for helping spread the word to get Fred the Elf back home. Of course, the holidays wouldn't be the same without campus holiday parties and more games, such as who can balance a candy cane on their nose, which revealed some surprising talent, and perhaps the secret behind the best candy canes to use.
Those are my Christmas tree candy canes. They could potentially be anywhere upwards to 20 years old, so they're pretty.
And as we head into a new year, it's time to celebrate MCC's 50th anniversary. The college will hold several events throughout the year, and you'll be able to purchase a booklet that recognizes the years of service to students and communities in Mohave County. All proceeds will help the College Foundation raise money for student scholarships and programs. Head to mohave.edu/50 years for more information. And last but certainly not least, the college is pleased to welcome aboard Dr. Tim Culver, the new Executive Vice President. He has vast experience helping colleges and universities achieve high levels of student success and enrollment growth. You can read more over at the newsroom at mohave.edu/MohaveWire. And if you have a college story you'd like to share, send it to us at mcc@mohave.edu, and you could see it right here on the next newscast.
Yay, way to an outstanding Mohave Minute report. Again, the Mohave Minute has turned into 8 minutes, but since we didn't have a board meeting in December, that means it averaged out to 4 minutes per month. So we're getting close, but I do appreciate all the hard work, and congratulations, one, to the business office for their 2 major awards and the work that they do. So again, Sunny and your team, congratulations to that, and congratulations to Fred the Elf for being found. So good job, Dr. Gilbert. We appreciate that. So what I wanted to do to move forward into, sorry, I'm just getting caught up here on my notes. Moving forward into the president's report is, I do want to state congratulations and a welcome to Dr. Tim Culver. He'll have an opportunity here in a minute to introduce himself, as well as lead discussion in 2 major areas with enrollment as well as instruction. So I did want to say congratulations to Tim Culver for being with us now. Also, for the President's report, we'll move into the pandemic response. Again, we continue to monitor the benchmarks, and I do appreciate the pandemic response team and everybody who has stepped up to review those and help make decisions for us to remain in a remote setting during this time of increased coronavirus cases, as well as there will be an update on vaccinations and some of the reports within Mohave County on the priorities within that. And then afterwards, I will just provide just a quick overview of the coronavirus response and relief supplemental appropriations, or the stimulus bill that was passed by our federal government, and that potential appropriations that could be coming our way. So I will open it up right now for Dr. Gilbert and Danette Bristol to provide us a quick report.
Thank you, Dr. Stein, and good morning to the members of the board and faculty and staff and community. the numbers have continued to go on in the wrong direction or going up. And as you can see, we've said earlier in the presentation that we've made some changes at the institution to reflect that. But what you see in front of you is the fact that the case numbers have gone up and are continuing to go up on the first slide. If you look on the second slide, you see that we're still following the benchmarks and review, as we said before, the number of cases, percent of positivity rates, as well as the COVID-like cases that are in the case. And all those events are still in the red and going in the wrong directions as well. If you look at the next sheet, you'll see that we have put in the presentation for you the status of what's currently happening for both the students and employees. As you can see, and as the Mohave Minute explained, we're still doing online stuff, except for the CTE stuff. We're doing some things there where we have labs and stuff like that will be done and will be done according to the protocols that are in place at the institution. Student services is completely remote or by phone and or online. And then for employees, most of them are still working remotely, and all meetings are being held via video conferences, and the safety protocols that are in place to ensure the safety of what workers are still being done as required. And if an employee wants to not work remotely, have to come to campus, they can do so upon request and approval by both the supervisor and the various campus deans. The next slide is talking about the vaccinations. And if you see on the slides there, you see that Mohave County has included higher ed as a part of the educational group that's in 1B. And so if you look at 1B down, the third one down, you see education, and we, meaning the college, is a part of that. Now, what we don't have there that we need to talk about that was released yesterday by a press release from Roger Galloway, the communication director for Mohave County, is that Mohave County has advanced to 1B starting yesterday, January 7th. So as of January 7th, which is obviously why we don't have a slide here because it just happened yesterday, the county has moved to 1B, which means that the educational staff can now be educated in Mohave County. Now, one of the things that it also points out is that in Mohave County, there is one place designated, and I'm not going to list them all, but just to say that there's one place designated in Colorado City, 2 in Fort Mohave, 4 in Kingman, 5 in Lake Havasu, and of course 1 in Beaver Dam, and 4 in Bullhead. And Danette and I did check those out, and she checked out Bullhead, and I checked out some in Kingman and others, and they are accepting appointments. There are probably going to have to be some things that we have to do as a college, because one of the things they are requiring is identification to prove that you're in the category of 1B. I guess I took it a step further by calling them. And one of the things that they did say is that, because I did get them to agree that if I bought a photocopy of my contract and ID to prove that I am who that contract says I am, would that be proof? They said, yeah. Now, all of us can't do that. So we may have to do something as an institution to address the identification, having some kind of identification cause or something to say who we are. I think that brings you up to the current status in the vaccination. I don't know if there's anything else you would like Danette and I to discuss or add, but I think that brings you up to date as to where we are. Danette, anything you want to add?
Yes, just the idea that the county did list priorities of who they want in 1B to get the vaccine first. And they're starting with protective services occupations and then moving to people 75 and older, and then education. So they have that listed on their website. However, people still can get appointments at sites. Educators can still get appointments at sites starting next week.
Right.
All right. Any comments or questions, board members? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much to Fred and Danette for your work on that, especially so quickly, since some of that information just came out in the last 24, 48 hours. And I know that they have been working with James as well as Jenny Dixon on information that we can share out to employees. And I appreciate Fred's comment about what's the best way for us to provide the right information so they can be able to share that when they go to get vaccinated, of proof that they are part of the educational our college. So thank you for that. What I wanted to do just real quick, as you may have seen, is the stimulus bill that was passed, or formerly known as the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations, a little bit different than the CARES Act from before. There is money that will be allocated to higher education, very similar as the CARES Act. Right now it is stands at about $20.2 billion will be issued out to public and nonprofit institutions of higher education. There is a allocation formula, and it's called the main formula, but it's very similar to kind of the formula that was done before. Will be based on some enrollment data. And so we are waiting to kind of get a finalized amount, but we do anticipate it could be a little bit more than the CARES Act funds that we received before. So the one thing with it is it's somewhat similar to the CARES Act, is about 50%, or we can up to 50% needs to be allocated out to our students. So we have various different student groups that we can allocate this to. We will review, similar to what we did last time, in regards to CTE students versus general education students, who would receive a little bit more or less, or do we run a very similar amount for all students, and in what categories of students. The other thing too is that allows us to have about 50% that would be able to go towards expenses associated with the coronavirus and our response, as well as language in there about helping mitigate loss in revenue, such as tuition loss. So again, once we have more information on what we believe will be allocated to us, I will definitely send out a note so you have information on that. So we are following that at this given moment. And again, we'll see what we can do both for our students and our institution by utilizing those funds. So that's the last part I have for the coronavirus response. Is there any other final questions?
Hearing none, we'll move on.
Okay. Thank you for that. I will move right now into some of the items related to the Arizona Community College state level council reports. One of the things I wanted to start with is the review of the JLBC. There were, I think it was some information that was placed in there in regards to the community college reports. And let me just pull those up real quick. In the JLBC, under the summary of recent agency reports, the community colleges provided an annual report, which just discussed overall enrollments and so forth, as well as the Arizona Community College report on dual enrollment and the threshold. That's the 25% threshold of those. I think if I remember right, a sophomore and junior. And so I know that Maricopa Community College system has always pushed and been up against that threshold. And that's why there's some potential language changes within the upcoming legislative session regarding the elimination of that 25%, but we don't hit to that 25% threshold. Arizona community colleges and also reported on the workforce development expenditures and STEM and workforce program expenditures. So there is a full review in the JLBC of the combination of all community colleges. Of course, we report our individual community college. And we do have information from that report. If you have any questions regarding that, I can also make sure that you receive Mohave Community College's section, which is like a page, just providing information regarding our totals, which typically in our STEM funding and Prop 301 funding, we receive about 446,000 in 2019 and 455,000 in 2020. We provide a report on where those funds are then used on our campus, which has been used in the past for sim labs, for our nursing programs, as well as certain laptops for biolabs, autoclaves for biolabs, rad tech equipment, dental equipment, welding program expansion dollars. That gets into a little bit of the one-time only as well. And also other items related to health professions. So we try to make sure when we receive the funds that we are allocating it appropriately, and then annually we need to report to JLBC. So I'll stand there to see if there's any questions on that. And if not, I'll then move forward.
Questions? Hearing none.
Okay, thank you. What we will what I wanted to do also is just provide an update that I did have a discussion, a really good discussion with Representative Regina Cobb in regards to the upcoming legislative session, as well as some other work that we're trying to do in both the receiving some state allocations and state dollars for support of our Advanced Manufacturing Training Center here in the Kingman region. But we also had a lot of talk about upcoming priorities for the community colleges, which one of the major priorities is the expenditure limitation, the EL policies that are in place. One of the things that we are attempting to ask for is just a kind of a variance for this upcoming year or this year based on enrollments and its impact that you could potentially see here in the near future on expenditure limitations, and to see if there could be a variance for this year. So basically don't hold harmless type clause because all of the community colleges are down in enrollment, that would have a future impact. And then also just a look at the future of expenditure limitations and a different way of calculating that would help support the use of spending the funds in appropriate ways. And so we are continuing as a community college system to support that initiative or priority within the legislature. But the other item too, I did briefly talk to Regina Cobb about was on Proposition 207 and funds that could be received from that in the near future. I know that her, as the chair of the Appropriations Committee, has been reviewing both the rules that are being established around Prop 207, but also the projected allocations that will be coming to both community colleges, first responders, law enforcement, and others. And so we hope that early on in the legislative session, we'll have a better understanding of what potential allocations could be coming and broken down by than community colleges. So what our specific amount could be based on those projections. Of course, Representative Cobb and I both agreed that we would not be seeing those funds for another, we think 2 years. By the time they get everything rolling, we could be in about 2 to maybe 3 years before we would see any type of allocations from Prop 207 funds. So anyways, I did have a good dialogue with her, and I promised her I would keep in touch with her on that, as well as I'm still working on trying to set up meetings with Representative Biasucci as well as Senator Borelli to have similar discussions with them. So that's the end of my legislative kind of report. And I will stand for any questions. And if not, then I will end my report period and we'll move forward with the agenda.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Klippenstein, for your, it suggests that your report is so thorough, there couldn't possibly be any questions.
Oh, thank you.
And as always, we appreciate that. All right, so we'll move on to institutional effectiveness and alignment. Sean or Dr. Tim Culver.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to see all of you. And we have a new board member sitting on Judy's lap.
Oh, I can't see her right now, yeah. Oh.
Hey, I'd like to start this morning with a special thank you to someone who stepped in as co-chair for the first half of year 0 until our EVP position was filled, and that's Stephen Eaton. He's been an awesome partner in crime, great effort, and I think we all know that his sense of humor is something that has a lot of value. So I wanted to thank Stephen for his wisdom and insight and teamwork so far. He's not going away.
You sweet talker, you.
Oh no, that road goes too far, Stephen.
He'll still stay neck deep though in strategic planning. We know that, including implementation of guided pathways practices, but just special thanks. And also welcome to our new co-chair and executive vice president, Tim Culver. Tim engaged with us even before his term officially began, and he joined his first, we call it IAC or IC, depending on your mood of the day, the Institutional Effectiveness and Alignment Committee meeting last Wednesday. And we're looking forward to collaborating with him.
Thank you.
Thought I'd give you just touch base with a major event. On December 16th, we had our first Data Day event. It was originally conceived as a live interactive event, but of course the pandemic made us move to a virtual delivery, and that posed some unique challenges that our instructors are well familiar with. Our goals were to provide the first activity in an anticipated series of them that help us answer who we are, who our students are, provide insight into how we use data and how we can use data to substantiate claims and to guide our actions, to focus on the metrics that are used to measure our progress toward our strategic goals, and to provide opportunity for data users to consume and synthesize data and ideas. And it's kind of a new world, so it takes us a while to, and will take us a while to become proficient and fluent in it. And finally, to inspire commitment to continuous improvement, which is something that all educators are familiar with. But I'd really like to celebrate the work of the data team and the many, many individuals that contributed to the event and our intentional efforts to better serve our students and our communities. So we consider it to have been a success. Some themes emerged in the day-to-day event, and you can see them on the screen. I won't begin to review 4 full hours of activity, but some of the themes really resonated with me that were suggested by Dr. Klippenstein and our guest speaker, James McCoy. The themes resonate with the MCC values that we formalized in the strategic plan that we approved in June, or you approved in June. And they include the notions that we're engaged in transformation. Transformation takes time, intention, and energy. And perhaps most importantly in my head, the fact that our journey really is our destination. But you saw these ideas throughout the 4 hours pop up over and over and over again, and we hope to honor them. And helping us do that, taking a peek behind the curtain, next slide please, Amy, the data subcommittee, along with several unsung heroes that are including, but not limited to, the institutional research team, IT, administrative computing, but these folks are working behind the scenes constantly to help strategic committees discuss data, gather it, interpret it, figure out what data to collect in the future, and then really the baby of Matt Butcher, who you'll hear from shortly, represent the data in increasingly meaningful and interactive ways. And so co-chairs Matt Butcher and Laurel Clifford will now share some of their team's progress so far. Matt and Laurel, it's all yours.
Thank you, Sean.
Yes, thank you, Sean. Kind words. I really appreciate your leadership and everyone's leadership with this these neat initiatives we have with data. At any rate, what you have on your screen there is the data subcommittee goals. We've really put in a lot of work, and we have a lot of work to do, as Sean mentioned. We are really realizing that this is going to be an ongoing, there is no finish line necessarily, but we continually get better and better and better at these things, which I think we all are happy with. That third goal on the bottom, providing interactive and engaging access. We do now have 6 dashboards on Tableau server. I'll show you an example of one in a few minutes. Excited about that. The viewership of them has increased and increased. The data day has driven some of that, but also I think there is a growing appetite for more and more micro and macro level data discussions, which is really exciting. Just want to reiterate that it's not just the data subcommittee, but the other strategic planning committees and folks around MCC are working really hard on adopting the culture of exploring data and thinking analytically regarding how we can use the data to approach the strategic plan initiatives. And it's an exciting time to be in the role that we're in. Next slide. So the first batch of initiatives that the subcommittee has helped the institution find their way through are on the screen there. Just a quick review: college going rate, if you need a refresher, you're looking at the percentage of recent local high school grads that come to MCC. Underserved student populations includes the students 25 years or older. minorities, Pell recipients, veterans, those types of things, if you need any review on what those are. These all deal with strategy 1, which means enrollment for all. And this batch of data has really been scoured over by many folks. I'm happy at the maturity when it comes to how we are gathering and how we are looking at these things. There is one of the dashboards that we've developed deals with 1.2 there, and it's a 10-year enrollment trend and student success dashboard that folks have been using and starting to think about data in a more mature fashion and looking at where exactly we have room for growth, drilling down to the areas of and the attributes of students to help us identify where we can grow and help strategies formulate to meet our goals. So the only the other strategy 1 initiative that is not on the slide is 1.5, which deals with enrollment as a result of aid. That has been discussed cross-departmentally with a lot of folks, financial aid, IR, and others. And what we're really after there is identifying the metric that we want to measure, that is going to give us the most opportunity to see what types of aids are most benefit the students. So that one didn't make it onto my list, but it certainly has had a lot of work associated with it. Next slide. The second half of the list deals with strategy 3. A little bit of review. 2-year credit threshold rate deals with how many credits students are accumulating after their first 2 years at MCC. Part-time students, you're looking for 24 credits, and full-time students, you're looking for 42. I think the others on that list are pretty clear. Data regarding strategy 3 been made available with analysis ongoing with the strategy 3 committee, as well as many other folks. All 4 of those initiatives you see on the screen have had dashboards developed for them and have been in use to help the strategy 3 committee, as well as others, to go in and see where in retention we have room for improvement, where program completion rates can be improved by as deep as the program level and things like that. I can say that anecdotally, my work in IR has risen quite a bit regarding, nuanced questions and nuanced inquiries regarding these things. And I think that is a really good sign that as an institution, we're getting to the point where we can start to have deep conversations as necessary and interpret data more effectively than we did before. Next slide. And I should probably introduce Laurel as well. She's the co-chair here. And Laurel, if you have anything to add, please interrupt. So here's an example of some work that we've seen with Initiative 1.2, which is increasing underserved student populations. So that committee, along with the data team, along with IR, has helped to identify, these are just a few examples of student attributes, or groups of students where we have room for improvement. And one of the things we saw was the 25 and up age group that has declined more than what we would like, hopefully, over the past 5 to 10 years. And now we're able to drill down and not only come up with an idea of how many more students we need to gain to reach a threshold or reach a goal that we're looking at, but identify what else about those 25-year-old and older students may be important. It may be their work status, it may be a lot of things. And the tools that we've developed have really helped folks ask those questions and get at, hopefully, strategies to reach the enrollment gains that they'd like to see. Similarly, with the Hispanic enrollment, they're able to now drill down into that further, find student attributes, ask more questions about groups of students and when they enroll and things like that, and come up with numbers to give them a real tangible goal of what we need to increase by. So the 10-year, my last bullet there, the 10-year enrollment dashboard has been the driver for a lot of discussions in strategy 1. Next slide. Here's an example of a dashboard that we've developed that folks interact with to look directly into 2-year credit threshold rates, for example. I realize it's pretty small, and I also know that this is supposed to be an update, not a conversation a whole bunch about data. Maybe at a later time, if you invite, we'll have a lot more to say about that. But basically, this is an example of a dashboard that was developed so that folks can go in, dig in. As you see, the age range 18 to 25 has been selected, and the work status of full-time has been selected. So the dashboard then interprets that and gives the user 2-year credit threshold rates, breaks those down by cumulative hours, by 2-year credit threshold rate, and also gives the user some information on the breakdown of FU and W grades by cohort, as well as the breakdown of course withdrawal reasons by cohort. And this wasn't stuff that Laurel and I just dreamed up on our own. This was stuff that we worked with the data team, we worked with others in IR, had feedback from the Strategy 3 committee, and developed a dashboard, reformatted the dashboard, and came up with this. For now, we may see that another feature or another student attribute is needed, and that's the beauty of what we're doing in Tableau, is we can modify these, we can change these to fit what the needs are. Next slide. So the other two strategies, we are working, and I can tell you that the college as a whole is working as hard as they can on defining exactly what we want to measure, how we want to measure, what the processes are for those two strategies. They are very, very important strategies, no doubt, but they're not maybe as simple as going in and looking at breaking down enrollment or breaking down student success. So rest assured that we do look a lot to help with the development here. And when we get to a point, which I think will be soon, where we're able to capture and measure some data, the goal again will be to make that as accessible and interactive as possible, as we've done with these 6 other dashboards. So I think that we're in a good place. And like I said before, the finish line may never be crossed, because there probably isn't one. The course is, the fact that we're doing this is a beautiful thing. So I would conclude with just my thoughts on day-to-day. I thought our speaker, that he was excellent. He really engaged everyone and got people excited. I was most surprised by the level of engagement. I think 4 hours is a long time to think deep and hard about data. And I was really, really happy to see the engagement of folks across the college who were interested. So Laurel, maybe you have anything else to add? I'm good. Thank you all for your time.
I'll just add a few words to thank Matt and compliment him on those Tableau dashboards. They're very interactive, they're very helpful, and they provide a lot of information. And it's exciting to see more people accessing them. And I know he's going to end up making more for us as we go forward. And they make the data analysis easy and palatable, if you will. I also want to make just a comment on Data Day. I know Tanya already alluded to it earlier, that it created a lot of conversations with faculty. And I know my own department afterward had a meeting, and we basically came up with a plan of what we would like to do to analyze some of our data. And so we're going to give more work for Matt and his crew. But I think what we're seeing here, hopefully, is that cultural shift that we were looking for, that data becomes more of a tool and an inspiration and something to generate questions and thoughts. We're really interested in the quality of it. And I know in our data committee discussions, we are looking at how we measure things, how we define things, and how they're defined various areas so that our data is high quality. And I'm hoping that that will just trickle down through all that we do and improve what we offer for our students.
Thank you, Laurel. Such great professional growth and the opportunity. And when you say 200 people participated, that's just amazing. And as Matt said, to keep them engaged and interested, I think there are some good things that are the result of having to go into the other modes that we're going into. And seems like focus was certainly one from that day. Thank you both for your presentation, your information. And Matt, I sent you a message. Maybe you'll see it in the chat there and can respond when you can. Thank you. All right. Next item up, as I'm looking through here, were there any questions or comments? I'm sorry, from board members looking for hands or.
I would just like to comment, this is a Friday-ish type of a comment. I'm a data junkie that, this just blows my mind. This is exciting to be able to see that we can actually understand what is happening, and with that understanding, we can always model and improve the future. So just my hat's off to Matt and Laurel and Sean and others that got involved with this. This is, to me, amazing.
Great. Thanks for that. All right, let's move on to instruction and enrollment report. And I think we are going to meet Dr. Culver. Before we do, I'd like to let him know for sure that he understands this, that typically when somebody new comes on board, we'd have a little reception and beverages and cookies or something. But that was not possible. So it's as though we haven't met him yet. Someday we will meet you. So we're ready for Dr. Culver's screen, I believe.
All right. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to join the family. I'll tell you, I wanted to echo something that Mr. Miller said. One of the reasons why I wanted to join the team at MCC is because of this excitement that's being generated and this transformation that's happening. And I told everyone during my interview process that MCC is in the season of transformation, and that is exactly the kind of institution that I want to be associated with. So I appreciate that. I thank you for allowing me to become part of the family, and look forward to continue to learn and to help the students and the families that we serve. So, I think I just wanted to say a little bit about my first 3 weeks on the job. I began on December 21st and still in Colorado at this point, but have begun to learn a lot of things. And with the help of Stephen and Anna and Sean and Stacy and a lot of other people that have spoken today or will speak in just a minute, beginning to learn that I made the right decision. And that's always nice when you know you made the right decision. And so I appreciate all the efforts and all the exciting strategies that we're talking about, and being able to lead and co-lead some of these efforts, and looking forward to moving to the Kingman area. So I should be there in March. If everything goes well and the house is built and everything is on schedule the way it's supposed to be, I should be there in March, and looking forward to coming to the area. So be happy to entertain any questions that any of the board members might have, or to talk more about my background. If you'd like to hear more about that, I'd be happy to do that. If not, then I'm going to turn the conversation over to Stephen.
Well, once again, on behalf of all 5 of us, we welcome you, and we do look forward to the time that we can actually meet you. Thank you,
Yes.
Dr. Culver.
Thank you very much.
All right. Stephen?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you for the opportunity, board members, President Klippenstein, and very excited to have Tim Culver join us. The most exciting part of my job is to sit back and let folks do their thing. And a little bit of my thunder was stolen this morning with the Mohave minute and the board discussion on substance abuse counseling. We are fortunate this morning to have Lori Howell here, who will do a little in-depth explanation of her program, which is our only totally online CBE competency-based education program. Lori, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine. Go ahead, please, and congratulations on your program.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for having me here. It's my pleasure. We are really proud of our recent accreditation, and it has been quite a process because back in 2015, it was a goal that I had set to pursue. And it was also at that time we had, in that pursuit, we had updated our curriculum to be in line with the Arizona Board of Behavioral Health. And so we went from an AAS to an AA and that was still under the title Chemical Dependency Studies. And so then we were identified by the previous college president, Dr. Kearns, as being one of the CBE programs. So we had to update our curriculum again. So we updated our curriculum about 3 times in about as many years. And it was a process. We had to learn about competency-based education. And I do have to say we were identified for that because we had already started incorporating addiction counselor competencies into our coursework. It was something discussed through the Office of Instruction as I was doing course packages. And so that's why we were selected to pursue competency-based programming. So in 2017, we finally were able to roll out our first CBE coursework. And that 17-18 year is when we transitioned from the Chemical Dependency Studies AA into the Substance Abuse Counseling AA. We had to retitle the program because it was a completely different program. And so with competency-based education, you have to earn 80% or higher on every single assignment. And I enjoy that work because it's, I get to work individually with each student based on what they know and what they need to know. So it's allowed me to get more in depth with each of my students and have a more individualized working relationship with them. And so it took us 2 years to get it all rolled out with, we have 8 substance abuse courses, and those are the competency-based courses for our degree. And then we went and we were able to put together a post-degree certificate based on those 8 courses that we have. And so, and that again is in line with the Arizona Board of Behavioral Health Examiners, and looking, because we went online 100% also when we went competency-based. And so what that did is it really opened us up to national students, you know? So, and so we had to look at our coursework through that lens. Like, we can't just look at Arizona. So, so we had to look at all the national recommendations for coursework. And again, when we went into competency-based, we knew that we wanted to get accredited. And so that was the lens through which we were looking and looking at it from a national perspective. So we're really pleased with what we put together. And when I have to admit, when we applied for accreditation, I was a bit nervous about it because we are very unique. We actually utilize some of the more scrutinized practices in higher ed. We're 100% online, we're competency-based, and then we are very heavy in open educational resources. We have 8 classes, but our students only have to spend money on 3 books. One of them's under $20, the other one is under $30, and the other one is more expensive, but they use that for 2 classes so they can get more of their money's worth out of that one. And so we use our professional resources for our OER components, and everything we do falls in line with MCC's mission. And we have all the support, because with all of this, we had to create unique systems for our students as well. And so, you know, none of this was isolated within the substance abuse counseling department. It really took all of MCC to put this together. And then during the process, COVID hit. And so I was very anxious about the process because it didn't go as it says in the training videos, how accreditation should go. You know, thank you, COVID. And so again, I was really anxious because we have such a unique program. And I'm really proud to say that we had such a solid application that they did not ask us for additional resources. And, you know, and I pat myself on the back for that, quite frankly, but it's because I had all those things to tap into from MCC and all of the different departments. And it takes everything to put this together. As far as helping the students and balancing the competency-based component with the traditional Carnegie aspect, if you will, from Gen Ed. Our students really appreciate it. So it was good, and it was quite a relief when I saw that our accreditation organization thought the same thing.
Lori, could you take a minute? You talk about a student's career path, how the MCC degree helps them, and how this accreditation designation now helps for the students' next steps and their career pathway.
Sure. Between being from a competency-based program, which employers love, because as I stated, they know that a student graduating from a competency-based program had to learn everything in there. So accreditation says that they actually learned quality material, that they've met the highest standards. And so this sets them on a career path. In Arizona, we have 3 levels of licensure. And so this distinctly sets them on that career path. And in other states break it up differently, but they have career ladders as well. And so because this accreditation is there, there's about half the states that our students, they can take our program from about half of the United States and qualify for the career ladder in their particular state. And part of what we do also is we do mentoring and advising for that next level. And so we have a group page in Schoology. And what we have done is interviewed advisors from 4-year colleges that really fall in line with the curriculum and the career ladder to make it easier for our students to find them. And so we've interviewed them as a way of pre-screening them for the students, so they can identify it, and then they can talk to our academic success coach about any questions they had about what they saw, so they could go into a conversation with them the next step, prepared, and knowledgeable about what they are exactly pursuing. So we're really pleased. So academically, it fits into upward progress, and then here, professionally and out in the field, it is a lower part of the working professional teams because again, we can get licensed at a master's level, right? A bachelor's level, and we have the associate level. So I can assuredly tell you that the behavioral health agencies in our county comfortably expand their services because they know our students are coming out there and can fulfill those positions. And they're coming out with a solid knowledge base. And with this degree, they can go in any direction in behavioral health and be a very well-rounded professional providing services to our community members. And so in a rural county like our own, there's a need to grow our own. And with this foundation, we can grow our own, and they will be solid professionals. And so that's just a really powerful thing that we're putting out there.
Thanks, Lori. Great. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, that's fine, Stephen. And I sure didn't mean to steal your thunder earlier. Just so proud of you and of Lori and of everyone that's on that Mohave Minute. And that jumped out at me because it was in the paper several times. So
right.
Thank you. Very fine job. And Lori, we're pleased to see your enthusiasm, and definitely you're a great cheerleader for the whole program, and we appreciate it. Any questions, board members? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you again. Enrollment, Anna.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Klippenstein, and certainly welcome Dr. Culver. And congratulations, Lori. Very, very exciting for your program. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Unfortunately, Tableau for live data was down this morning, so I'm going to share a PDF. So hopefully you can all see the dashboard in front of you. It is current as of this morning, about 4 a.m. or so. You'll see that in our head count, we're about 20% down. I believe the data that I provided to you earlier this week was about 19% down. So we are fluctuating a little bit. In the last few weeks, we've seen it at 17 or 18% too. One thing to take note with the headcount dashboard is that the 17 and under category, we are ahead of last year. We're thinking that a lot of that is timing currently in working with the high schools as well as JTED Wave. A lot of it depends on when we finalize rosters and student enrollment and when we're entering those. And so while we're hoping we're able to come out ahead of dual enrollment, we're certainly not sure yet, but that is a positive currently when you look at the dashboard, is that we are ahead in the 17 and under, obviously struggling in the 18 and 25 and then moving on down. A lot of the feedback that we're hearing from students and including high school students is that a lot of them are either looking for work or they're needing to work more than what they would usually do due to the pandemic and the current situation as well. If you look over at the right-hand side, different data points as well, but specifically new to MCC or returning, you'll notice new we're down about 10%. However, that number has been up as well in the last few weeks. And so we'll see where that ends up. Returning has continually remained down throughout all of our enrollment efforts. I will show you credit count really quick as well. Just give me a minute. All right, so now you have credits in front of you, hopefully. Here you'll see we're about 21% down or so. Your board packet or the board information that was provided to you a few days ago, we were about 20% down. Again, this area fluctuates as well. Same thing with 17 and under, you're able to see an increase in the credits currently too. And then overall, we are seeing that we're having a little bit more students come back, but they're not taking as many credit hours as they perhaps usually would. I'm just considering the situation. Classes do start January 19th. One thing that we've done is we, between instruction and the bursar, we were able to extend our mass drop. If you recall, there is a time where for the semester, we drop students that have not paid or do not have payment in place. That would be this Sunday typically. However, we've extended it to January 24th. So that allows staff longer to work with students as well as students to communicate on any challenges they may have in hopes that we can help them. Currently, about a third of our credits are unpaid, which is usual for the most part. However, that additional time allows us to communicate. And we typically have about a 5 to 8% drop is what we see. Student services, campuses, bursar, and instruction continue to meet on a weekly basis, talking about different enrollment and registration, as well as admission stats and what we're doing overall. We have extended Early Start. Early Start is the program we provide to high school students. Typically it ends, that offering ends when they graduate of 10 credits free. However, we've extended it to the summer this time as well as to the fall for some of the high school graduates as well. Working with IT as well as instruction on a technology loaner program, as a lot of you know, we've had students struggling with having access to technology to take online classes and a few other items as well. K-12 and some of the things that they're struggling with has also thrown a wrench into our students and trying to figure out a plan for the current spring semester. Are there any questions or anything I can help with?
No, looking over at the hand raises and I don't see any.
Okay, thank you so much.
And having such clear data is helpful.
Yes, it is.
I'd like to return to Dr. Klippenstein to see if he had anything that he wanted to refer to in the last few sections. I think I just zoomed right across of him.
Oh, no worries, Madam Chair. I just wanted to first congratulate again Lori Howell and that program. I'm looking forward to that program being 500 students here in the near future, since now we can hit half the nation. So congratulations, Lori. But no, this is exciting time for a good example of a program. As Lori stated, it's fully online, it's CBE and the OER offerings. It is a little bit non-traditional, and to have it nationally recognized is a great tool for us. And also, I just want to say, appreciate the hard work behind the scenes at Ann and her crew, as well as the deans and other campus location ADs, as well as faculty participating with one another to really try to help our students from fall continue on in spring, and hopefully continue to keep them on path. And so all the work that also has been done on the new student front end of getting still students in. And we know this is still not the best of times for many of our residents of Mohave County, for them to look at coming to school. And but we're here for them still, and we will continue to be here for them in the future. But I just wanted to say congratulations to them and to Lori.
Thanks. Appreciate that. All right. So Anna, we've heard your report, and we're moving on to Sunny's, and we have a copy of that also.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Klippenstein. Good to see you all. As I thought we were making progress into seeing you guys in person, it looks like we've taken a step back because of this pandemic, but I'm sure glad to see you all on the screen. My first item is the cash flow or cash position report. You'll see your reports are for both November and December, since we didn't have a December meeting. But you can see we keep a $15 million corpus invested in the limited government investment pool, which is a portfolio of all bonds. I would kick myself if I didn't leave a little mention that there is a new option for investments coming up. It is not the time to be discussing it at this time, but know that there is a new investment option that will be hitting your desks as we continue this spring. COVID and the pandemic did have an effect on bond rates, and so our investment return on bonds is slowing down. Fortunately, we underestimated the amount of money we would get on investment earnings, so we're still in really good shape. And I did want you to note on this cash flow or cash position report, the red line. The red line at first was much more reflective of the green line, where there was a lot of ups and downs. But given the efforts that we've made over the past few years, that red line is starting to even out, which just means that our expenses are more predictable and more even as we continue, which gives us more flexibility in an active treasury management item. Any questions on the cash flow or cash position report? Okay, and then next is the budget to actual report. The bad news is I thought I would have a new layout to show you with some new pretty charts and graphs. Unfortunately, as I'm sure Mark would have told you, new software comes with new tasks on building fun and pretty reports. And so even though I was hopeful that it would just be a click and show, it's not there yet. So you're getting the old format, which is still a format that tells you good news and news that you can rely upon. You will see that our maintenance of plant is down from last year, but that's simply because of capital projects. It doesn't mean that we aren't on track for where we were hoping at this time of the year. And again, travel, of course, is basically non-existent because of the pandemic. I know that my own conferences for the spring were also delayed. So it will be interesting to watch how that expense moves this year into next. You can see that we are still under budget according to the completion of the year. So you can see in front of you is November, where there was 42% of the year completed. And our expenses are still staying behind while our revenues are staying ahead. So we really enjoy that. Any questions on the budget to actual reports?
Looking at us, and I see no confusion on people's faces.
That's
Vance,
good.
questions? See, that's the advantage of having video. I can tell if the rest of them have questions now. I can see their pictures. All right.
And before I get too far, I did want to acknowledge the business office and the awards that were received just recently. I'm really proud of them. And I'm proud of being a part of that.
Should be. That's wonderful. Yeah, there were so many recognitions and awards and rewards. That was good to see.
Great.
Report. All right, Sunny. And you're putting together some sort of budget information that will go out to the public like we were doing before pandemic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think that everyone will view my topic as interesting as I do. So we are getting more pieces put together. I think for this new year, I'm going to work with James, surprise James, he doesn't know yet, but in putting together maybe, you know, a Mohave Minute video on college finance. And just
yes.
I think that would be fun. So, and I think people can take my topic in minute increments better. So,
I remember last year ago when we had the workshops and you had a few people come to campuses, and of course we can't do that, but you would be doing something like that probably virtually this year, at least once, do you think?
Yep, that is my hope, to have a live interactive session via Zoom at least once a quarter. But I thought it would be nice to have that series of 1-minute college finance videos that were specifically Mohave.
Oh, absolutely. And I know James is shaking his head wherever he might be listening from.
I hope so.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Dixon, Human Resources.
Good morning, Madam President, members of the board. I'm President Klippenstein. First off, congratulations on your returning service to Julie and Judy. We're excited that you're still with us.
Thank you.
You helped make it worthwhile. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
First order of business is a change to the hourly salary charts. As of January 1st, the state of Arizona increased the minimum wage from $12 an hour to $12.15 an hour. We anticipated an increase, and so back in July when we adopted our compensation plan, we had actually preliminarily adjusted to $12.12 and $14.63 or 62. We were hoping it wouldn't go up more than 12 cents. We underestimated slightly, so we are at this time adjusting it 3 cents higher for that minimum entry point. This affects 2 employees at this point. So most of our employees come in much higher than those minimum levels. And we're seeking your approval.
All right. Well, you were sure proactive, and that was good to see. Thank you. Looking for a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minimum wage adjustment effective January 1st, 2021, as presented in the appendix.
Seconded by, did I see Susan?
Second.
Thank you. All those, any discussion? I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes 5-0. And again, thanks for being proactive and hitting the zone there within 3 cents. Can't complain about that.
And then finally, closing off our meeting, I have the Human Resources report for the months ending both November 30th and December 31st, 2020. And we're looking for an approval of that as well.
Well, we are.
Motion to approve the Human Resources report for the months ending November 30th and December 31st as presented in the appendix.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ashley. All those, any conversation, comments? See, I can see your faces. That helps. Just happened. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
You are opposed, Susan? No, you're
No,
just.
I'm
Aye.
late muting and unmuting. I was aye for.
Thank you. We're all in support of Jenny's reports too. Thank you very much. The next regular 5-0, I should have said, I'm sorry. Next regular meeting of the Mohave County Community College District will be the 12th of February at 9, and it will be Zoom again. Is that what I want to make sure I'm reaffirming? Right. All right. Any comments before we close?
Good meeting. Thank you.
Yes, thank everybody. Stay safe. Bye.
Thank you all very much, and we will see you when we see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Amy, are we using the same link for the workshop?
Yes, we are using the same link for the workshop. So hopefully Susan comes back, or is Susan not attending and I'm unaware? You're muted, Stacy.
Sorry. No, I thought she was attending. Ashley, I think will be on in advance, has to leave by noon.
I think we lost Julie as well.
So we might need to,
Well, maybe she's coming back on.
yeah, that's what I'm hoping. They probably
Well-
needed a quick break too, so.
Yeah, it would be. Well, I took one already. I couldn't wait.
I didn't give them any other links, so they'll have to come back here.
Somebody needs to make a phone call or a text or something.
While we're waiting, I'm going to run down the hall real quick and I'll be right back.
As am I.
Okay, there it is. Good.
Sunny, we're just going to start with the agenda and then we'll get your PowerPoint up.
Okay.
Did you want to do that yourself?
Why don't we? I think, unless I start to fail and then I'll say, Amy, help.
I'm going to go ahead and make you a co-host so that you can
scroll,
do all that fun
Thank
stuff.
you.
with
Yeah.
that.
Oh, we have to wait for Julie, huh?
We do.
Okay, good. Then I'll take another break.
Did you send a note to Amy, or Amy, did you send a note to Julie?
And I'm doing that right now. I will also send something out to Susan. And I'm going to mute Dr. Selberg's phone call.
And then Amy, am I okay to send the same link to the chiefs in case they want to tune in a little bit?
They can, again, it's the same exact link because we haven't left the session. I thought it would be easier to just stay on.
That made sense.
Probably should have reminded people.
I tried to catch you. She's responding.
Maybe that guy that was asking for, pretending to be Julie Bear and asking for all that money for cards could find her.
Well, Vance knows him, so maybe Vance can contact.
Yeah, maybe Vance can find her.
Yeah, I know
Listen,
nothing about this. Please.
You don't know how close I came to actually going to do that, because unlike Amy, I didn't have anything else to do. So, and Vance's was easy because Vance never communicated with me, but Julie was, you know, I mean, that was crazy. That's the first time I've ever had that happen. So it was a good lesson, easily learned. I'm actually glad it happened.
I actually sent an email to Amy and I said, Amy, what am I supposed to do? Because I had never seen anything like that before either. Amy said, report it.
Yeah. But I had never experienced that. So he was persistent. Even after I blocked him, he was still trying to email me. But I finally caught him because I told him he needed to text me, and he was done. So.
Are you guys waiting for me?
Yeah. Oh, yay.
We lost Susan as well. I have
Okay.
emailed her, but I have not texted her yet. I can do that.
Sorry, I lost connection here. Frontier just notified me now that we're reconnected, and that was from last night. So, well, do you want to go ahead and start? Would that be helpful? You want to give us a little time zone? I know Vance had someplace to be about 12:20 and wants to leave by about noon. So how are we looking here?
I think we have the ability to get through the slides that Sunny has within the next 50 minutes to make sure that he has the full information. There are a
Okay.
couple slides that might generate some good dialogue, but we can manage that, Julie.
All right. So let's go ahead and start. And when Susan comes, we'll jump in. We'll have her jump in. I cannot see the whole agenda. I'm having a little trouble here because the iPad went out. And so then, always giving excuses, I know. Amy, I just see the beginning of the agenda. So can you slide it on the big screen? So maybe I'll have to see more of it. So call to order and pledge of allegiance. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can't see the screen at all if I stand, so here's where I am. All right, roll call. Amy?
Julie Bear.
Here.
Susan is not here at the moment, according to the screen or the participant list. Vance Miller.
Here.
Ashley Pascal.
Here.
Judy Selberg.
Here.
Thank you. All right, we're going to have a review, revenue and expense considerations. Dr. K.
Great. Well, thank you all very much for participating in the workshop. I know that we talked about having a workshop this January as well to talk about an update on our budget preparation in current fiscal year, as well as allow Sunny to walk through some items regarding the ratios as we have discussed in the past. And also, as we get into the planning phase, just some dialogue about some potential changes, some ways of thinking, some guiding principles as we move forward with our budget planning process. Sunny has done a great job in preparing a PowerPoint presentation that will walk through kind of where we're at with our budget, again, revenue, where do we expend our funds, as well as we'll get into some items related to this current year of the overall amount that you approved and talk through that a little bit. So there's some training in that area, as well as we'll get into fiscal year planning 22 with some stuff with the ratios. But we also planned on establishing a workshop for February that will get a little bit more into capital improvements and long range facilities planning with Don Montgomery. Now that he's been here for a little less than a year, but he's been here to be able to look at all buildings and has worked with me on some priorities. I know he wants to bring some things forward on kind of some long range planning, but that also associates with some dialogue we'll have today with the ratios and future budget planning as well. So I think between January and February, we hope to be able to give you some really good information that will lead into some better dialogue going into March, April, May, and June for budget approval processes. Just a couple things I wanted to do before I pass it off to Sunny is, again, the purpose was just talk about budget planning, ratios, the balance of kind of maybe some discussion there on where do we think that we would need to be able to reduce down the high ratio that we're currently under now, and that potential impact from HLC as we move forward in 2 years with a visit from HLC and making sure we're spending to meet the mission of our institution, and therefore being able to put the right resources and the amount of resources into our institution to be able to, again, meet our mission. And also it does, again, help us prep for upcoming workshops as well as fiscal year 22 budget approval. But I just wanted to share just a couple worries that as we begin planning, well, this year as well, but as we begin planning for budget in fiscal year 22, is that with the COVID-19 and coronavirus situation, that future impact on enrollment obviously is something we'll monitor. And we are already making some planned adaptations to our budget for fiscal year 22 based on that, but also the changes in state allocation, Prop 301 dollars and so forth, as well as where we're going to be in the near future, either this year, but also in the next couple of years with tax collections, as well as spending aligned with our strategic plan. As you know, we're in the midst of year zero. We're reintroducing new methods and processes to be able to prioritize specific strategies that are being brought forward and its funding requirements, and putting those and placing those in as investments within our our budget planning for fiscal year 22. And so it's not a major worry. It's just so new for us. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to prioritize in the right way and spend in the right way. The big worry for me as we continue to move forward is just the ratios and balancing that. And Sunny has some great slides and some dialogue about that. Again, the HLC and worries within that is section 5 of the HLC really gets into our financial resources and are we spending in the right way? So if you look at 5B, numbers 1, 3, and 4 within HLC standards and requirements, there is some mention there about making sure we are spending appropriately. And the higher ratios we have, the more carry forward balance we have with no planned way of approaching the spending of that. We do need to take a hard look at that and making sure we are spending to what we're budgeting. So there's some items there that I know that Sunny will provide for dialogue on that. As far as future-wise, I think there is some really bright spots in the future. Again, discussions on where we're going to be with TNT and what decisions you want to make with that in the midst, again, of the coronavirus, future of tax collections, but also tuition revenue and monitoring and making sure we're planned correctly on that. External funds to support our big mission moving forward. And I know Susan McAlpine and I have talked about this, is the use of finding new external funding sources, larger scale funding sources that can support current technical education, healthcare, student services, and student support mechanisms. There's a lot of opportunity that I think we're about ready to undertake, which I'm excited about. The future of Prop 301, but also Prop 207 funding. If it is as projected and Representative Cobb believes, there is a possibility that we could be looking at a large $5 to $7 million added a year just from Prop 207 dollars. If that's the case, again, how are we spending to making sure that we're meeting the mission and the vision of our college and doing everything we can to get more students in the door and more students out with the degree. And so I want to make sure we're spending the right way to be able to do that. Of course, overall, it's really about our strategic plan and success. So we got 5 years to make sure we hit all our benchmarks. For me, the really big thing is our strategy number 4, which is the infrastructure. So what we're doing now and planned with IT and the new ERP system and the new learning management system and CRM for recruitment, there's a lot of neat things in front of us right now that we're planning to purchase and to put in place. Also with the long range facilities plan that you'll see next month, and the human resources that we have been discussing, and realignment of having the right people in the right places, the budget and personnel requests that are coming in now by various different groups, and also the prioritized strategic plans has an impact on the resources that are involved with the human capital and our staff and faculty and everything that we have in place and what needs to be in place for us to, again, continue to achieve our strategic plan. And of course, always, we will look at efficiencies and effectiveness, assessing the needs and outcomes as we move forward. I want us to be an efficient college. I want us to be effective. And therefore, again, I want to make sure we're spending to where we need to be spending and making sure we're doing the right thing for our communities and students. So that's just a quick overview of just my thoughts, and I will pass it off to Sunny. And she, again, has a great slide of information to run through with you. So Sunny.
Thank you, Stacy. And that was sent yesterday. We have the PowerPoint and I've been able to. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I wanted to start on a personal note. If you could be patient with me, I want to thank the board and especially Dr. Klippenstein for being incredibly patient with me during my appendicitis journey. Fortunately, Monday I got a clean bill of health, but I just wanted to say thank you all for understanding and supporting me through the trials and tribulations. I certainly have learned more about healthcare premiums and what goes on there.
Glad to have you back, and I would never have mentioned it because of your privacy, but since you shared it, I can tell you, and I assume they too are just very pleased you're doing so well.
Well, and I've told people it's a cautionary tale of if you have a fever and think you should isolate, don't.
Yeah, you did not have COVID.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So I will start by trying to share my screen. All panelists, advanced sharing options. Oh, Amy, it won't let me just share my screen. So I might have to have you assist. I'm so sorry.
We all do have it. I wonder, does everybody have it up on their?
Yeah, I have it.
On the iPad. Does anybody need the presentation or should we just? Oh,
Here
there
comes
she goes.
something. There's Amy. There's
Yay.
Amy.
Okay, so, and the title of it says financial ratios, but really it's much more than that. And I wanted to start the conversation by making sure that we're setting the right tone and message for how we've gotten here. And I want the board to get some recognition, frankly, for the incredible decisions you've made in the past years to get us where we are. And we are talking about spending our fund balance simply because we're primed for that strategic plan. We put away money in a calculated way so that we can serve the taxpayer the best way. And now we're ready to deploy our resources towards that strategic plan. So thank you to the board for your guidance on this. And I think that we've gotten the quality applicants like Dr. Klippenstein and Dr. Culver because they could look at our position and know that we are ready to transform this community into some incredible outcomes. So thank you for that. So first screen, or I guess second screen, Amy, if you don't mind. So I wanted to start just by reviewing a little bit where we get our money from and our revenue sources. And so from this slide, you can see that in the past, we didn't really, our revenue hasn't grown that much in the past 10 years. So that's how your decisions reveal such a smart path to go on is over the past 10 years, we've only increased our total revenue each year by 1.7 million, which over that much time really isn't very much. But I think considerations for this revenue, you have to remember the deeper questions and that even though something may appear one way, it isn't necessarily. So most important on these slides is that the government grants portion of our funding has decreased, but that's really in conjunction with a decline in enrollment. It's not that we haven't gone after funding or that we've done something wrong. It's just the relation to enrollment. The portion of our revenue that is paid by the property taxpayers has increased. Some of that is just the balance of holding tuition steady and decreased state funding. And some of that is the increased value of our property in the county. State appropriations, as you can see, did drop. It was, I believe, going from 2010 and 11 into 11-12 that the state funding basically was chopped in half. So you can see how our share of revenue has decreased with that one. And it's important to remember tuition has held the same at $81 a credit hour for quite a few years now. Next slide. And so since this is going to be hitting your desks soon, I wanted to drill down on tuition and fee revenue. This slide summarizes the big points about what's going on. And at the bottom is a chart that shows you the relationship between enrollment and tuition. So if a person is down 20% in enrollment, you would expect 20% down in tuition revenue, but that's not the case. And so that's important to remember as Dr. Culver and Anna talk about enrollment trends. It's important to remember it's not a one-to-one ratio because the college has been so generous with scholarships and because we have a high Pell population. When we reduce $1 or 1 credit hour, it doesn't also reduce the exact same amount in the tuition. So at the bottom, you can see that while we budgeted 8.9 million for tuition and fees, the net was 5.2 million because about 40% of that incoming revenue is covered by scholarships or federal assistance. So I just want to be sure everyone understands it's not a one-to-one ratio. Every 1 credit hour does decrease revenue, but not as much as you would assume, if that makes sense. And I think it's important to remember when you start to think about tuition and fees, first, the timing of any changes to technology fees. So we are going to be going after a new ERP, Enterprise Resource Platform, I believe is the acronym's full name. And so we want to match that revenue to that expense. And also with our new strategic plan, we are increasing our non-credit revenue the ways we get it, the services we offer, that will change quite a bit in the next 5 years. And then, as Dr. Klippenstein mentioned, Prop 207, the marijuana legalization, should provide quite a bit of revenue. And so we need to consider that revenue source while balancing out all the established revenue sources that we have. So next slide.
Before we go on to the next slide, I have phoned Susan and apologized for my problem. I was remiss, and she is logging in now. So if we just take a deep breath. I did have that break and the rest of you didn't. I had a chance to go wash up. So maybe even though we've asked you to move quicker, you just give her a minute and see if she pops up. She answered the phone and said she'd be right back.
Okay, I will be on hold until you tell me until you give me a green light, Madam Chair.
Well, we'll give her 60 seconds to see, unless you need a break, Sunny. We can just see if we see her face pop up there. I feel badly. But since you're starting a new slide, it might just be a
good break time.
And I told her it was my fault.
Well, and that's another thing I did want to say before I started is please feel free to jump in with any questions or comments as we go along. I was great at the game we played as a child. Remember the red light game you played, and the teacher would say red light, green light, yellow light. So just yell red light and I'll stop.
All right. Susan, I explained to them that I had not been clear with you or with anybody, and that you were logging on. So we're ready. We're in a new slide. So you only missed a little bit, and that's in the PowerPoint that Amy sent you yesterday. So you're welcome to return there later. All right.
Thank you. Sorry, guys.
No,
I'm
you
just
don't
too
have to.
excited to go get something to eat.
All right, we're back to Sunny, and we're on the slide for tuition and fee revenue. Thank you, Sunny.
Sure. So Susan, we covered a little bit about how we're getting our tuition and fees and our funding sources. And the information in the revenue slides is useful to you all as you consider the tuition and fee ranges that we're setting come February. So I can give you a holler and go over all these again in more detail, and that goes for anybody. But for now, we'll go on to the expenses. So here are the bigger picture expenses for MCC. You can see the total amount, the 36 million. We have been very stable over the past 10 years as far as making sure we are lean and efficient in how we operate. So while enrollment has dropped, you can see that we've been serving people better than ever, and we've been reinvesting in our classrooms and our instruction. You can also see, and I wanted to bring your attention to it, that the category of institutional support, which is often what people think of as administrative overhead, it has decreased. That doesn't mean that it needs to continue decreasing. And as we start to look at deploying resources for our new strategic plan, that may shift. Institutional support also contains expenses that are not necessarily something we can control. It does include things like the cost for the election. So for every seat of the Board of Governors, we pay the election department to run an election. So there's things like that that we can't control, that are mandated, and we do our best to make sure it's lean and efficient. But that item you see has decreased here in the past 10 years, but I want you to also understand that it's a bigger issue than just administrative overhead. Amy, can you go to the next slide for me?
Sunny, before you go to the next slide, the one thing I wanted to point out is Sunny and I've had this conversation the last couple of years, and something I'm very used to with working with the board and taking a look at our expenses per year and our breakdown is, if we really look at supporting our students, of course, that comes from instruction. And it also comes from student services and academic support. So if you take a look at those three pieces of the pie, where institutional instruction and academic support and student services, and you add up those percentages, that's something I always like to try to keep an eye on to make sure we're, anywhere in that 50 or 60 to 70% range, because that's typically a focus back on our students and serving our students. So that's something I always like to look at. And I appreciate the percentages breakdown, because it does kind of show that we're at least maintaining and doing a good job in that area.
Thanks for that.
Oh, and Sunny, you piqued my interest. So what does it cost for an election period?
So if it is an election with more than one candidate, it's about $35,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And it's based on the number of registered voters in the county. So, you know, we're not as heavily populated as other counties. So that 35,000 probably to others would be a big bargain. For offices that are uncontested and we can have the superintendent appoint a person, that's $150. So that's the difference. But we do budget for elections. We're fully ready to support that kind of activity. But yes, that is how much it costs.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That was a question.
Asking, Susan.
I've fallen off my chair.
Well,
That was a question that the newspaper reporter asked me. And, you know, how come I wasn't going to be on the ballot? And that's what I explained to him, that it was, if you're running unopposed, it's very expensive to put yourself on the ballot. And so he understood that. And I think he put it in the article. So hopefully somebody read it. I don't know. But,
Wow. I hope that somebody read it, 6 more years from now?
yeah.
Knowledge is power, right?
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Well, you know, democratic process. We can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. Here we go. So a closer look at expenses. When I say things are sort of non-negotiable or unable to control, I do refer to healthcare insurance premiums. Although technically we can control that. You know, we are told by our staff and faculty that this is a really important reason why they're here. It also communicates to our staff and faculty that we care about them and their welfare. And so health insurance has gone up way more than the rate of inflation. And so sometimes that's not as controllable, and we are expecting a double-digit increase. We won't know until around spring break, but that will be coming in. The other item that we don't really have control over is the Arizona State Retirement System. We got word about how much that is increasing next year. And if we took a snapshot of how we are today and how we would be next year at this exact time, our expenses would be up by between $100,000 and $150,000 simply because of what we were told we have to contribute for ASRS. Our contingency amounts in the future, Dr. Klippenstein and I have discussed defining those much closer. So instead of having a giant contingency category, we really wanted to break it out into items like a designated reserve for construction, a designated reserve for IT, a designated reserve for a pandemic declaration, who knew? But we wanted to just define those items so that we can increase our transparency.
Yeah, I think Sunny and I talked about, what was it, 5 different kind of categories. That's a better way to break it down, so it's allocated differently.
Yeah, and again, I think by doing that, what we're doing is increasing our transparency for the public and letting them know exactly what their money is doing for them. If we have a new software platform that is different from what we have now, we will be able to match our revenue sources to our expense sources really clear and every day and often. So I'm looking forward to that. We are also increasing our ability to use alternative revenue sources. So that investment income, remodeling that downtown building, those are the kind of things we're really looking to match so that we're very transparent. And we'll, at the end of this, we'll hit the HLC ratios because it's important. The question that the Higher Learning Commission always asks when I submit is, are you deploying your resources to achieve your mission? And as I said, you've gotten us to the point where we can, which is very exciting. And then we always have pandemic issues around the expenses. A lot of schools are doing things like postponing projects, putting on a hiring. There's lots of tools available. Somebody's got a doorbell. There's lots of tools available if we should need them, but I have to tell you, you put us in such a strong position that we are really able to double down, get creative, and go after our mission during this time. Next slide. So then I wanted to be sure that you'll be ready for when the public asks you anything about the official budget forms. So I'm going to take you down the alley again to see, these are the forms that you vote on in June, but we talk about them. We talk about the concept every month, and we start to talk about these actual forms right now. So these are pictures of the Arizona State forms, and we call them the CCD forms, the Community College District forms. You may also hear them referred to as a long form. So these are the forms that you will vote on in June. It's a 7-page report, but 2 pages of which are really noticed by the public. And those are the 2 here. So Schedule A is the summary page, and Schedule C is all the expense pages. And that's what seems to people relate to the most and what they look at to judge how we're doing. Both have previous year's numbers, so you can compare the up or the down. And all of this should relate straight back to what we discuss every month. So let's take a closer look. Amy, if you go to the next page. So this is Schedule A. It's the first page people see with any kind of detail in it. And it is run in the newspapers twice before the hearing. It's a summary page that I always worry people are going to misinterpret because of how it's done. So if you look at that very first section of expenditures, they want you to examine the current general fund and the unexpected plant fund. And they really don't talk to you about the restricted fund, which is really important and a huge factor for a lot of schools. So it can skew how things look. And that plant fund line can swing wide. It all depends on what kind of capital projects you have going. So if we have a year with construction, it will look like there's a huge increase, or it will remain stable or go down depending on what our capital plan is. So don't be alarmed should that line go up and down much unless we haven't told you what's going on. So I always say no reason for alarm if you know what's happening, because we should be out there with the information about why we're spending and what's going on and what you can tangibly see. The expenditures per FTSE, the full-time student equivalent, this is a measurement for me that frankly I don't like, because to me it's much more important what we spend on serving a body, what we call head count. And for community colleges with the large part-time population, it can appear skewed because FTSE is a block of 15 credit hours. And for instance, I believe this year, and Anna can confirm or tell me to stop, but I believe in many categories where our credit hours have gone down or our FTSE's gone down, our head count has increased. So we are still serving more people regardless of how the FTSE fluctuates.
Yeah, and I'd like to just piggyback off there for Sunny and support Sunny on that. I know this whole FTSE or that 15 credit hour or 30 hours for the year used to determine your cost of educating a student has come under fire for many different state organizations, state kind of commissions or board of regents and or community college trustees that really, when you look at community colleges, you're looking more at a head count structure rather than a FTSE, or you adjust the FTSE count down to something that is a 12 or something per semester, but you really look at head count. And then I know that some have looked at your completions. So if we are graduating 500 each year, and we maybe are graduating more because more people are getting certificates, you actually divide that into your overall expenses and you get what it is cost per completion rather than a cost per FTSE. This is the state report. This is how we have to report it. I would say that my other community college president colleagues all struggle with this as well. So it's a good point that Sunny shared.
Well, and on top of that, FTSE does not reflect non-credit initiatives. So we're a community college and we serve the community as a whole, which means not just credit courses. We look at non-credit all the time that will benefit the community, and that's not in this calculation at all. Again, on the section where it talks about personnel, retirement and healthcare, we really, we're sort of waiting to hear what it is more than proactively going after it, with the exception of Jenny and the HR area try more than ever to increase wellness, which that can have an effect to it, but usually it's a lagging effect. So if she ran a wellness program that hit it out of the park, we probably wouldn't see a difference in rates for a couple of years after that. So it's sort of a look back. So those are 2 items that we can't really control that well, including minimum wage. That is sort of what we're, not a victim, that's the wrong word, but what we have to adhere to. And then at the very bottom, I don't know if you all remembered the cherry pie illustration from the budget workshops, but remember that line on levy, even though it says -2.8, it really depends on what the values in the property are doing and that kind of thing. So remember the cherry pie, the number of cherries is what we're authorized to collect for that year. And it spreads amongst everyone who owns a cherry tree. So, and I can go after that a little bit more. I'll probably do that in a Mohave Minute, just because I really like that one. So that's coming as well. Amy, if you could go to the Schedule C form. So the C is all the expenses. So I think people really understand expenses and they want to drill down on what's happening. And so I want you to feel comfortable that you know what's happening, or that you can refer them to me if someone has bigger questions about what's contained in that column or row. Again, the restricted funds, that second column, that's all Pell Awards, federal loans. When it says restricted, what it means is the school can only use that income in a certain way. And again, that doesn't appear on your front page at all, the summary page. So the plant fund, again, we use it for capital projects. And I'm going to give you a little preview for when we start to talk about what I call ELR, it's the expenditure limitation statute. There are ways that we are required to treat expenses differently, depending on if we're doing this state form for the budget versus the state form for the ELR. And the biggest factor is IT. And that's been a biggest factor for everybody right now with the pandemic. And so you can see where it's a huge expense. And according to these forms and accounting forms, any large IT software purchases, I can treat it as a capital purchase. The problem is when I go to the expenditure limitation rules, they don't allow me to put software in there. So very different rules for different statute forms. And we'll cover ELR a little bit more as we go through the year. And again, personnel costs, it's embedded in all the categories here. It is our biggest asset and the biggest expense category that we have. And you could see that through the pie charts where personnel costs are over 60% of our budget every year. And those are contained in every single one of these categories, just embedded inside there. Okay, next slide. So here is a new topic presentation, although you've heard it before. And it's basically budget to actual. So that green bar is what you vote on every year. That's the approved budget through the state. That's the officially approved expenses. The blue line is—
Sunny, just clarify that. That's general fund, that's unrestricted and restricted.
That's all in.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the bottom right corner of those forms we just looked at. It's everything all bundled in one is the green line. The blue line is everything bundled in one of what we spent. And then that yellow line is our area of opportunity. Now that we're going into a new strategic plan and that we're ready to deploy resources, that yellow bar tells you how much we budgeted and didn't spend. You can see in 1920, there was 4 months of a pandemic there. So it comes a little bit differently, but it's not enough of a decrease that you should panic about. We are still healthy with that yellow bar every year. And it gives us a way to, I think how I put it is aggressively define how we're spending our money. So that yellow area will now be aggressively defined in how and when we're going to spend it to achieve our mission. I know this is a new picture, so please hop in with any questions you might have now or later. But Amy, if you could go on to the next slide. And then our old favorites are the ratios. And these are the ratios that we submit to our accrediting board. And what I want you to start remembering as we talk about strategic plan purchases, is that final number, what we call the CFI, the Composite Financial Index. That's the number we get from combining these 4 first ratios into that. And 3 is the magic number. So always remember that. 3 is the magic number. HLC wants your CFI to be 3 or greater. When I say greater though, it's a cautionary tale, because if we go too high above that 3, the accreditation board is going to say, why are you not deploying your resources? Why are you collecting this money and not using it for your community? So it's a very slight balance between where we are with that CFI index and where we need to be as we continue over time. And you'll see that more in the slides to come. So next slide. Primary reserve ratio. This is what will happen if we don't get another dime coming into our bank. So if we never got another dime from anyone or anything, how long can we last? And they want you to say you can last at least 5 months without another penny coming in. I don't know what kind of situation that would happen in, but I don't want to know. I never thought about what a pandemic would do. So it's that kind of thing. And this shows we try and always have a flat operating expense. And when I say flat, I don't mean specifically at a number 0, but darn close to it with that trend line. Next slide. Viability ratio. Thank you for making my job easy and not having us take on debt. Viability ratio is a reflection of how you're doing with how much debt you're carrying, and we are not, which is also incredible. And I think why we get good applicants. When you see our county and how it's ready for change, and you see that the college has a good fund balance and no debt, you're in. This is where you can create your legacy. Okay, next slide. Return on net assets. This has gotten so much better since you guys said, Sunny, throw it in an investment. So I'm really excited about that. We are always looking at the net asset ratio, not only for our investment income, but how our buildings are doing, how our tangibles are getting greater or smaller, what's happening there. Again, I will preview that there is another investment option. Now is not the time, but I really want to talk about it with you because it's super exciting. So that'll be coming up as well. Next slide. And then now net operating revenues. So when we're talking about operating revenue, we're talking about active income, not passive income. Again, HLC wants you to be right in that 4 or 6%, and we are well above that threshold. Next slide. And this is always the finale number. This is the composite financial index in which you take those 4 first ratios, you give them a number that reflects the weight of importance. So which ratio do you think is more important than another? Which is also mandated by the accrediting board. So it's not like I can make that up. You combine them all into this and you get your CFI. Again, the magic number is 3. Isn't there a song? 3 is the anyway. I believe there's a song that says 3 is the magic number. We're riding just under 9 right now. We are primed and ready to achieve our mission. I'm super excited. I was telling Dr. Klippenstein, we're going to transform this community in the next 5 years. It's going to be a legacy that will be memorable for a long time to come. And I think that was my last slide. Yep, that's it. So I will sit for any questions you might have. I encourage you to reach out to me at any time. I love my topic. I love hearing my own voice. So
really?
I'm ready to talk about it for anyone or anything. Even if you want me to go somewhere and present to a group, I'll be there and do that. As a taxpayer, it's my responsibility to know this. And I wish I knew it about all government agencies that I funded with my money. And so it's my mission to make sure all taxpayers know what we're doing and why we're doing it and why it matters to them. So I'm open for questions and I'm open for appointments to come and talk about it to more people.
Sunny, are you gonna...
I've got a question. No, go ahead, Susan.
I was just gonna ask Sunny if she was gonna do this as a, I don't want to say Zoom, but what other type of YouTube program, because it really is I don't want to say educational. It really is educational.
It is. Yeah, so I hope to get super creative this coming year. I know that Dr. Klippenstein has said, go after it. And so I will. And that's why I was talking about, I want to do a Mohave Minute that's finance minutes, you know, and throw those up on our YouTube channel. And then, but at least once a quarter, I want an interactive online presentation like this, where people can ask me whatever's on their mind.
Yeah.
So you'll see news coming out for that about when and where and why. The nice thing about being online is I can do it whenever. And so if more people want to do it after work or on a Saturday or whenever, it's easy to do it this way.
And the people who complain about evenings and weekends no longer can complain.
Right.
Yeah,
but it's not the complaining that I think is exciting. It's the fact that it is accessible because of the Zoom and because of the YouTubes. And so people have an opportunity. I mean, just like what happened with voting, because people had options to vote, and look what happened. The turnout was incredible. And I think this would help us in getting our constituents to turn out and watch and could go back and look at it. When you get a phone call, you can say, here's the YouTube link or here's the Zoom link, you know, go take a look and see, and it'll answer your questions. So I think it presents great opportunities. And Sunny, I'm glad you're excited about it.
Great voice for it, doesn't she?
Great voice for
I
it.
think Vance had a comment or question.
Yeah. Sonny, when you mentioned you wanted to do these quarterly, are these going to be more like the workshops you did for the public to help them to understand this budget?
Yes, and so I'm trying to match the topic with what we're doing in those upcoming months. So I started it off today with, hey, here's the budget forms you're going to see. My problem is I can go on and on, so I never know what people want to know. So I'm thinking if I do 1 minute increments, people will like that better. But yes, it will be just like the workshop. Hopefully I can limit it to one topic bubble, and that way people can really dive deep into that one topic.
Wonderful. And just,
Go ahead, please.
no, the last question I've got on that budget to actual opportunity slide where you
Yes.
showed us the excess capacity. That excess capacity is really only when you subtract the budgeted expenses from the operating expenses, right? That's how you arrive at that
Yes.
Excess capacity?
Right, and so the excess capacity is that part that we didn't spend that was approved of in the budget. And so
Okay.
that's the
Yellow bar,
opportunity.
yeah. Vance, you're talking about that yellow bar? Is that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, oh, because I sent just a comment to Stacy to help me remember. But I had that same question and wondered when you said, Sonny, it'll be aggressively defined as in, what does that mean to you? It's going to be aggressively defined. What did that mean?
For me, what it means is instead of having one bucket that I call contingency, I'm going to say, we budgeted this and we're going to specifically do this strategic priority and use this money. So instead of having a giant contingency or reserve, I'm going to break it down and show you what that reserve was for, and then when it comes into play about when we're spending it.
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
Yes.
Great. Yep.
Yeah.
And just two things also to kind of piggyback a little bit off what Vance's question, and also something that was asked earlier too about sharing the information, is I'm really excited about the continued opportunity to share this to our taxpaying constituents, and in multiple ways. And you guys are all perfectly right on, spot on with the approaches. The other thing too is the internal. I know Sunny and I have talked, she started this last year where I think we did on every single campus where we had time for faculty and staff to come in to better understand. And that's a continued need for our end to be more transparent also internally. So when we get into budget allocations, when we get into requesting personnel items or strategic plan initiatives and strategies that are being prioritized, more people have an understanding of where that money can come from, understanding projected revenues, and that means we have more capacity to spend or less capacity to spend. It helps us evaluate efficiencies and effectiveness as well, because they know what their benchmarks are, because they know what their budgets are, right? And so, and they're able to monitor that. And I know last year we started off really well and got great feedback from our faculty and staff who participated. So